I was constantly disturbed by heart demons and couldn't complete the training. It's really frustrating. After murmuring to himself for a while, the demon lord stood up. You can continue cultivating here. There are my formations here, and no one dares to disturb you. Su Qi, seeing this, asked, where are you going? The demon lord, carrying his weapon, was preparing to leave. He paused at the door and impatiently replied, going out for a stroll. Killing a few people from the sect to vent my mood. This answer left Su Qi speechless, as expected of the demon lord. This might be an opportunity? Su Qi thought seriously, should I escape? But after thinking about it, it wouldn't work. The demon lord's strength is there, running away won't help. If only my master were here. Su Qi suddenly thought, wait, if my master isn't intervening, could it be that he's allowing the demon lord's opportunity to be given to me? I am also suitable for the magic skills. Could it be that my master wants to let me grow faster by allowing this? Realizing his master's intentions, Su Qi became determined. As expected, my master is thoughtful. I understand now, master. But back home, Master Hanju had no idea that he was such a far-sighted person. Suddenly, a system prompt appeared. The strongest person from the Yuqing sect has been found. It is the Wudao old monster, at the 7th level of the Unity Realm, the sect leader of the Wuxiang sect. This information made him puzzled. The Wudao old monster is here? In front of the Yuqing sect, Wudao arrived with his disciples. You wait here. I'll go in alone. Wudao old monster instructed, in case something happens, be prepared. Hearing this, Dongfeng Xian agreed, yes, master, please be safe. Wudao walked lightly on the steps, slowly entering the Yuqing sect. Inside the sect, Li Qingzi hurried out, what's going on? Has the Wudao old monster from Wuxiang sect arrived? Someone nearby said, he came alone, it doesn't seem like he's here to cause trouble. The entrance of the Yuqing sect was crowded with people, all discussing, I wonder if Wudao is here to settle scores? Li Qingzi had to shout, we did not come out to welcome the sect leader, we apologize. May I ask what brings you here, senior? Wudao respectfully replied, I am here to resolve a previous misunderstanding. Hearing this, Qingxian and Lu Bumi snorted, but Qingzi still invited Wudao inside. Under the large hood, Wudao's face exuded a dangerous aura. I wonder where Elder Qinchin is? We had some misunderstandings before, and I wish to meet him personally. Hearing this, Qingxian, Lu Bumi, and Li Qingzi were all surprised. Did you have past grievances with Elder Han? Li Qingzi was about to refuse the request, I'm afraid. But Wudao immediately interrupted, are you the sect leader of Yuqing sect? Can't you handle a small matter with an elder? While Li Qingzi was still hesitating, Xiao Jiao spoke up. He said, Elder Han just told me to bring the Wudao old monster to see him. Hearing this, Li Qingzi agreed to take him to see Hanju. After achieving his goal, Wudao revealed a sinister smile. As they walked, Wudao was introduced. This is our Yuqing sect's experimental cave, full of spiritual energy and vitality. Li Qingzi excitedly said, if the experiment succeeds, it will be open to the entire sect. In time, Yuqing sect's disciples will surely be full of talent. He also replied, it is indeed a very good place. As they were walking, Hanju appeared and spoke, may I ask what brings you here, senior? He greeted Wudao with a very friendly attitude, leaving no room for criticism. Looking at that calm expression only made him more resentful. Wudao gritted his teeth and said, I've heard of Elder's great name for a long time, and came specially to visit, also to resolve the grudge between us. Inside the cave, Hanju's calm voice could be heard, Senior, please take a seat. He was puzzled about what kind of grudge there was between them. Why did you choose to enter when there was a road in the sky, yet no door in hell? Wudao apologized, before, I didn't know that Miss Xing was your Dao partner. Therefore, since the Yuqing sect has subdued the blood flame heavenly gate, I will no longer target you. Hearing this, Hanju picked up the teacup from the tray to show his gratitude. He brought the teacup to his lips, signaling that he no longer cared about the past, and Wudao also cooperated by praising Hanju for his broad mind. He took a sip of tea, hiding his cold gaze, and cursed inwardly, stop with the act. Hanju looked at Wu Dao's holy smile and then at the system's recently reported 5-star hatred value. Feeling displeased, 4 stars to 5 stars. It really seems like he wants to skin me alive. Suddenly, he spoke in a low voice. Also, I was cursed by someone. Could it have been you, my friend? This immediately stunned him, clearly surprised by the question. Wu Dao's expression twisted. I came here to clarify one thing. Do not anger me. I will not disturb Miss Xing. Our two sects can establish a friendly relationship. Hanju responded with an innocent expression. I am an upright person. How could I do such a lowly thing? Besides, we haven't even met. How could I curse you? He continued to act as if he didn't know, but his heart tightened because he had been guessed. This person cannot be left alive. Wu Dao naturally didn't believe him. With so many coincidences, who else could it be but you? He observed Hanju's innocent act. This person dares not admit it, which means he fears me. Although he has many spiritual treasures, he doesn't pose much of a threat. Even in a life-or-death battle, he wouldn't be able to kill me. Thinking of this, Wu Dao couldn't help but show a smug smile. With my divine powers, as long as my primordial spirit is intact, my body will never die. If I deal with him, the Yuqing sect and the Blood Flame Heavenly Gate will both fall under my Wuxiang sect. Then, with an ambitious smile, he said, you don't have to pretend, old man is not here to cause trouble. Hanju, seeing the system's report of hatred value, 5.5 stars, had no words to respond. At this point, Wu Dao no longer pretended, and gritted his teeth saying, I just hope you show some mercy. After saying this, he waved his hand and sent countless spiritual thorns, attempting to bind Hanju. The thorns came whistling from all directions, heading straight for Hanju. Facing the thorns that were about to make contact with his body, he still leisurely sipped his tea, as if nothing had happened. At this moment, a freshly roasted fish outside emitted an enticing aroma. The voice of Tuan Chang'an sounded, Elder, won't someone like this break the master's rules? Master doesn't like being disturbed. He asked anxiously. Hearing this, Li Qianxi helplessly said, it's already impressive that the sect leader of the Wuxiang sect managed to barely cultivate to become an immortal. Meanwhile, the other two were enjoying the delicious roasted fish. Suddenly, a loud noise rang out, causing everyone to turn around in shock. Is that from the master's side? They hurriedly ran towards the cave entrance, worried about Hanju's situation. At this moment, they saw Wu Dao silently walking out the door. Seeing this, Li Changzi immediately turned pale in panic and shouted loudly, what did you do to Elder Han? As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Dao lightly curled the corner of his mouth and gave a gloomy laugh. Sect leader, don't act, it's me. Although it was Wu Dao's voice, it sounded exactly like Hanju's, making them widen their eyes in surprise. At this moment, Hanju slowly walked to the front. His primordial spirit was destroyed by me, and now it is my soul controlling his actions. Li Changzi asked incredulously, is he already dead? Hanju placed his hand on Wu Dao's shoulder and grunted, don't make a big fuss about this. I'll take his body away, and I won't let Wuxiang sect trace it back to us. Li Changzi broke into a cold sweat in fear, stuttering, I'll go control the public opinion. In his heart, he was lamenting, in less than 2 breaths, the Wu Dao old monster is dead? The gap is too huge. Hanju secretly despised him. To deal with him, I only needed the 6 Paths Absolute Seal to destroy his primordial spirit. This is the experience I gained from 8 simulated battles. Then Hanju urged Li Changzi, hurry up and do it. Hanju then began thinking about where to put Wu Dao's soul, eventually deciding to pin the blame on a random demon clan member. Outside, Dongfeng Xian began losing patience. What's going on? It's been so long, and master still hasn't come out? A disciple immediately reassured, don't worry, sect leader, the sect leader will be fine. Suddenly, something flew across the sky, startling them to look up. He immediately recognized that it was his own master. Dongfeng Xian hurriedly led his people to chase after him, shouting, wait, my disciple is here. At this point, Wu Dao, controlled by Hanju, suddenly paused and thought for a moment. Then, like a jet plane, he flew out in a second, leaving the others behind to only swallow the smoke and dust. What urgent matter does the sect leader have? Dongfeng Xian angrily urged his disciples to catch up, but they helplessly shouted, "Sect leader, wait. We don't have the cultivation of the Unity Realm, we can't catch up with you." Hanju fully controlled the Wudo old monster, traveling for half a month, until his spiritual energy was almost exhausted. Finally, he had to let him stop randomly in a deep mountain. Hanju used his last bit of spiritual energy to leave some traces that suggested a murder, which would be found by the disciples of Wuxiang sect. Then, he retracted his soul, leaving behind a meticulously crafted fake scene. By then, the disciples were already exhausted, still questioning why Wudao had entered the territory of Qingman dashing. Only a fool would go there. Dongfeng Xian had just finished speaking. Suddenly, Zhou Fan and Mo Fuqiang walked out from that direction. They immediately turned around to look at the others, their expressions confused. He and the disciples of Wuxiang sect also looked back in confusion, glancing at each other. Finally, they quickly brushed past each other. Zhou Fan hesitated, "Should we just take care of them directly?" Mo Fuqiang immediately became furious, "Can you at least consider the consequences? How much suffering have I endured following you? Are you crazy? Remember the consensus we reached earlier, this time we are just visiting an old friend. Don't stir up trouble again." Hearing his reminder, he immediately promised, "I just want to see Hanju's expression. It's like a frog in a well seeing an unknown terrifying gaze, only by striking and correcting his worldview. Can we make him fight alongside us to conquer the world?" Zhou Fan cunningly curled his lips. Back at Hanju's side, he was observing the spatial ring sent by the howling old monster. Then Hanju looked up, and was instantly stunned with surprise. It really is the sect leader of Wuxiang sect, the details far exceed expectations. In front of him were countless jewels, gemstones, and shining gold, dazzling the eyes. Hanju then looked at the mountain piled high with rare and supreme cultivation treasures. He was extremely excited and jumped around in the pile of jewels he already owned, so many treasures and resources, enough to establish a sect. This courier must have picked this up from the furnace. Just as Hanju was laughing wildly while holding the model box, a voice suddenly came, "Elder Han. There's a big problem. The secret transmission went wrong. Ma Zhu has fallen into madness, and all the beings in the secret transmission have been killed." Li Qingzi shouted urgently. Hearing the words "fall into madness," Hanju immediately froze, unable to believe it. Is he following Ma Fuqiang? Hanju was thinking, what did Ma Zhu do? A system notification popped up, and Hanju immediately focused on the report about Ma Zhu, awakened. Demonic soul, fallen into the demonic path, murderous intent increases. Hanju completely did not understand what an awakened demonic soul was. A moment later, at Yuking sect, Jing Si saw his arrival and immediately shouted excitedly, "Elder Han." Hanju was concerned about her situation. She explained, because of the prohibitions, no one was killed, but the formation has been damaged by demonic energy. What's strange is that after she fell into madness, she sealed herself not long after, and there has been no further movement. It's like she doesn't want to drag the sect into it? Hanju immediately retorted. This is not a seal, it's more like cocooning. Upon hearing this, Jing Si immediately became worried. Doesn't this increase the possibility of an outbreak? He nodded in confirmation and said to her, "Issue an order to prohibit anyone from appearing within 10 miles of the secret transmission." Jing Si immediately accepted the task and reminded Hanju before turning, "Be careful." He comforted her, but his heart was filled with anxiety, worried about Ma Zhu. The demonic energy is too intense. Hanju gently reached out to touch the cocoon. "Didn't you check her? The aura inside is rejecting me." What was strange was that Ma Zhu's body had not fully formed yet, and the demonic energy she cultivated was actually able to resist the power of the Void Realm cultivator. Hanju frowned and speculated, could there be someone else inside? In that case, let's go all out. Thinking this, he immediately raised his hand to use his magical power, directly attacking the cocoon and breaking it. As the cocoon broke, Ma Zhu, who had been unconscious, appeared. To his surprise, she was completely naked like a cocoon, which shocked Hanju, causing him to widen his eyes. After calming down, he immediately rushed over, calling out MISU, and hurriedly took off his outer robe to cover her body. She landed just as Hanju arrived, quickly draping the robe to cover MISU's body. She collapsed into his arms, breathing evenly, as if in deep sleep, completely unaware of what had happened. Hanju placed his hand on MISU's head to sense her, surprised to find that there was no other soul inside her, meaning MISU had not been possessed. He observed her chaotic primordial spirit and said in a low voice, "Her soul is undergoing transformation, and it's no longer forming." What background does the Ma family have? Ma Fuqiang also fell into the demonic path before. Suddenly, MISU lifted her head and reached out to touch Hanju's face. She leaned in close, but her gaze was somewhat strange. He immediately noticed that something was wrong with MISU's eyes and quickly stopped her. Hanju panicked and shouted at the unsuspecting MISU, "You've already broken through to the Yuaning stage, why haven't you transcended your tribulation?" Hey. Miss Ma, control yourself." She didn't respond, continuing to move closer. Hanju saw that MISU showed no reaction, and doubt began to form in his heart. Is she still the same MISU? Her eyes were completely hollow, like a doll created for someone's amusement. A second later, without hesitation, he slapped her, sending MISU flying. MISU was hit and rolled several times, crashing into a pillar. After a while, she managed to crawl out of the rubble, groaning in pain. MISU had now regained consciousness, covering her face and confusedly asking, "Who hit me?" She was surprised to see Hanju sitting there. After a moment, MISU suddenly realized something and looked down at her naked body. She immediately began to wail, cursing, "Hanju, what have you done? Damn pervert." At that moment, MISU's scream echoed in the secret chamber, "I want you to take responsibility. From now on, I rely on you." He showed a complicated expression, his voice trembling. "If I tell you I was hatched from that black egg, would you believe it? What exactly is going on with the Ma family? Why did you also fall into the demonic path?" Upon hearing this question, she didn't know how to answer either. Since entering the golden core stage, I often hear a voice while cultivating. MISU pouted and said, her eyes glistening with tears. At first, she thought it was a heart demon, but later she realized it wasn't. "I studied the classics left by my brother for the family and discovered that was the will passed down by the Ma family's ancestors." Actually, the Ma family wasn't a sect of demonic cultivators, but a true demon clan. Later, after our family was wiped out, the demonic cultivation methods passed to the human race and became known as demonic cultivation. We, the Ma family, can be considered descendants of both the demon clan and the human race. MISU lowered her head, her eyes filled with sadness. Hanju frowned in confusion. "Did you lose control like the demonic cultivators of the immortal realm?" She puffed her cheeks and said stubbornly, "I'm not a demonic cultivator. Their bodies can't handle the power of demonic cultivation, which causes backlash." MISU suddenly blushed, shyly turning her head to look elsewhere. "One of the cultivation techniques I passed on to you." She suddenly paused when saying this. Then, MISU looked at him, her eyes full of inquiry, and asked, "The technique requires us to cultivate together. Would you be willing to cultivate with me?" At that moment, the system suddenly popped up. Hanju saw the notification. Ma Yuling developed 3 stars of hatred toward him, and he was struck as if by lightning, not understanding what had happened. The system provided basic information on Ma Yuling and why she had developed hatred toward Hanju. After reading it, he could only conclude, "Does she want to kill me again?" So, in his book, apart from the 3 names that had been resolved, there was now a new name, ranking at the top of the list. But at that moment, his attention was completely focused on the information that MISU liked him. Hanju recalled how she had blushed when inviting him to cultivate together. Then, Hanju ruthlessly rejected her. "You've just broken through, you'd better consolidate your cultivation first. Also, don't forget to give me back my clothes, it's the only set I have." In that moment of recollection, he froze. "I originally meant well, but why did she call me a big fool?" Women's minds are really hard to understand. Hanju sighed sadly, not understanding Mo Xiling's motives. MOJU had already cultivated demonic arts and would surely be influenced by the family head. To let her cultivate in peace, he had developed a new daily habit. As he was thinking this, Xing Hongchuan suddenly appeared, shouting, "Husband!" Hanju helplessly closed the book. Then, he adjusted his expression and asked, "Where have you been recently?" Xing Hongchuan happily took out a shining object. "A while ago, I left Dayan and went to Zaiwanzu to train." She told him that a person named Wei Yuan had sent many items to her, saying they were for inquiring about Hanju's health. Xing Hongchuan curiously asked if he knew that person. Hanju immediately recalled what Huang Zuantian had said that day, "The senior's kindness is unforgettable. And this gift is not out of respect." He smiled helplessly. Old Huang is truly thoughtful. Suddenly, Xing Hongchuan turned around to look for something. "This is also for you. I got it from the demon tribe's chitty. I saw 2 demon kings fighting over it when I found it, so it must be a rare treasure. Taking advantage of the 2 of them injuring each other, I took it. I don't know if it's useful to you?" She winked and handed over a herb. As soon as Hanju saw it, his face immediately turned pale. At that moment, the system prompted, "The genius treasure possesses the potential of a person with natural luck." He couldn't help but exclaim in his mind, "Has this herb become a spirit?" When the system provided a series of details about the herb, Hanju widened his eyes even further. "My God! Heavenly god-level talent?" He quickly took the herb and asked Xing Hongchuan. She immediately chattered excitedly, "I must say, after going outside, I realized how vast Dian is. If you compare it with Rinzhou, even Yuqing sect couldn't be considered a second-rate sect." Hearing this, Hanju stared in shock. "Is Rinzhou that strong?" Xing Hongchuan smiled proudly. "The reputation of Yuqing sect today is entirely due to my husband's contributions. In the future, it will definitely surpass other states." He helplessly closed his eyes and sighed. "I was just forced into it." She immediately leaned over to encourage him. "The top 100 cultivators list has been updated, and I think my husband will definitely be number 1. He didn't understand at all. "What's the top 100? Xing Hongchuan excitedly said, "In the top 100, there's a cultivator from the criminal department who uses a giant sword as a skateboard. It's so cool, and there's someone who bathes with a sword." Before she could finish, Hanju suddenly remembered something. He took out a sparkling bottle. "This is a high-level pill that can increase lifespan, a compensation from the Enlightenment old monster. Her talent is ordinary, and I fear she might die too early." She crossed her arms and snorted coldly, mocking Hanju for disappointing her. "Husband only treats me as a joke." But he solemnly said he was serious. At this point, Xing Hongchuan stopped joking. "Don't worry, I've already used it, and I still have this genius treasure. My lifespan is long." She thought for a moment, but for someone at the golden core stage to live over 400 years is extremely rare. Speaking of lifespan, Lu Sanqin, the eldest disciple of Yuqing Peak, the one you knew, he passed away 10 years ago. These words immediately reminded Hanju. "No wonder someone has felt missing from my list of friends these years." Back in the decades at Yuqing Peak, the senior brother always cared for him during cultivation. Now, he had no chance to repay him. Xing Hongchuan spoke again. He was about to reach the Yuaning stage, but there were too few longevity pills. If he had left Dayan earlier, there might have been a slim chance of survival. The spiritual energy here is much weaker than other cultivation realms. At this point, she gently leaned against Hanju's chest. "I really don't want to leave this world. I want to stay by your side forever." After hearing that, he just gritted his teeth in displeasure, seemingly deep in thought. At this moment, in a nearby cave filled with demonic energy. Inside, there was a large pot, with oil boiling and emitting an enticing fragrance. 2 people, Zhou Fan and Mark Fuzhou, were tightly bound and hung upside down, groaning in hunger and exhaustion. Suddenly, young Tiandong walked over from somewhere and asked, "How are you feeling?" As soon as Zhou Fan saw him, he immediately shouted in anger, "Lackey of the demons." If the master knew, he would be disappointed. Young Tiandong silently listened to his curses, while Mark Fuzhou gently tried to console him. It's just bad luck that we intruded on their territory and dared to kill their patrol demons, Joe Fan exploded. But they were too arrogant, always demanding that we mortals kneel and beg for mercy. How could we tolerate that? Suddenly, someone called out to Donger and asked Yang Tiandong how to deal with these two. It was the Green Python King. Should we cook them or refine them into pills? He smiled, revealing sharp teeth and a flicking long tongue. Yang Tiandong nervously asked, "Does the foster father really want to kill them?" The Green Python immediately became enraged. "They killed my demon pet, they must pay with their lives. This is only natural. If you want to inherit my power, you must sever ties with humans. Humans and demons can never coexist, this is an ironclad rule." Yang Tiandong did not refute, but secretly cursed in his heart. Does he really think I want to become a demon? The Green Python returned to the previous topic and suggested frying them. Yang Tiandong helplessly looked up. "I'm sorry, Joe Fan. We swore to live and die together, but if I had known this, I shouldn't have rushed in blindly." Recalling earlier, Yang Tiandong suddenly decided to go on a journey. 2.5 years later, he had established his own business and had over 800 warriors under his command. When he encountered the Green Python King, he immediately decided to return to the rescue operation from the previous night. The Green Python became interested in Yang Tiandong's bloodline, so he kept him and adopted him as his godson. He gritted his teeth regretfully. "What did I go out for? The master may be right. Stepping out into the world, the cost is truly too high." At that moment, a demon pet rushed in anxiously to report, "There's a fire outside. It's an Eastern immortal fire from a sect called Wuxiang sect, claiming it's for revenge on the master. He's too strong, the small fries, can't control him." The Green Python muttered this name, Wuxiang sect? Then he roared, "Just right. I have a grudge against the Enlightenment old monster." After saying this, the Green Python immediately teleported. "Donger, stay here and keep an eye on them." Yang Tiandong silently thought, looking at the oil pot, why not take this opportunity to save them? Outside the Green Python's territory, Dongfeng Xian sneered and mocked, "These monsters surround me, yet they only have this little strength?" He arrogantly shouted, "Tell your king to come out." In the dark forest, a strong demonic aura appeared. Dongfeng Xian immediately sensed it, his heart filled with horror. The demonic aura is too strong. The aura is even stronger than the master's. Could it be? He turned and faced the Green Python, his eyes filled with killing intent. The Green Python coldly said with disdain, "Daring to act wildly in my territory, do you have a death wish?" Dongfeng Xian angrily roared, "The Green Python is a scourge. Did you kill my master?" He was also stunned when he heard about the death of Wu Dao. Immediately after, the Green Python laughed, holding his face, "Good riddance. Truly a joyous occasion." Dongfeng Xian immediately connected the symbols on the ground with the Green Python King. Then he crazily shouted, "It's really you. I'll fight you to the death." After saying this, he immediately leaped into the air. Dongfeng Xian's eyes were bloodshot as he raised his umbrella, and the Green Python did not deny it, opening his mouth and laughing loudly, "Today, I will kill you and bring you back for soup." Meanwhile, in his own cave, Hanju was sitting outside in the sun, holding the earth and heaven grass he had just obtained. "Looks pretty good." He thought deeply, if it wasn't trampled, it should be able to cultivate spiritual energy soon. "I'm talking about you, don't pretend you didn't hear." Hanju angrily shouted at the black-eyed chicken. After a while he was relaxing, he saw a familiar figure come knocking. Seeing Li Qingzi with a worried expression, Hanju immediately guessed, has the Wuxiang sect come? The old man denied it, "It's nothing, but..." After hearing this, he was immediately shocked, the Grand Elder is about to reach his limit? After a while, the two of them sat quietly under the eaves, no one spoke. Suddenly, Hanju turned around, "Do you need me to go and see?" Li Qingzi tightly closed his mouth and lowered his head. The master has already left the Yuqing sect alone. He failed to break through to the transformation realm last year, and the pills didn't help much, so he decided to go out and find a way to break through. He said if he doesn't return within 20 years, it means he's no longer in this world. Before leaving, he asked me to tell you, without Elder Han, Yuqing sect would not have prospered like it is today. Upon hearing this, Hanju remained silent for a moment and comforted. The path to immortality is always difficult. Li Qingzi gazed into the distance. Perhaps we made the wrong choice from the beginning. Although I've made progress early on, it seems all these years of hard cultivation and seclusion have not brought much benefit. Elder Han, as you know, my cultivation is growing, but crossing this barrier to the transformation realm is becoming increasingly difficult. Hanju looked at him with worry. Li Qingzi took out the token of the Yuqing sect's sect master. If I also encounter a great calamity one day, who among these disciples do you think is most suitable to become the next sect master? He gloomily lowered his head. I often meditate in seclusion, how would I know? He slowly analyzed. The most talented disciples of the Yuqing sect are all under your tutelage, Elder Han. Li Qingzi said, I just discovered that Zun Chang'an and Morong Qi have already broken through to the nascent soul, and their speed is so fast. Unless it's Elder Han, who could achieve this? If they take over. Hanju continued, I understand the sect master's meaning. Their talent is indeed impressive, but there is one thing that must be clarified first. If one day our sect encounters an enemy we can't resist, to the extent that we must flee, even the sect master can't stop me. He looked at him darkly. I was born in this world with only one goal, immortality. After saying this, he lowered his head sadly. To reach that realm, one must have no attachments and be unaffected by karma, only then can success be achieved. To achieve this, I can help the Yuqing sect, but I will never give up my goal for the sake of the sect. Hanju glared at him again. Hearing this, Li Qingzi broke into a cold sweat. Elder Han thinks too much. Actually, I just think Zun Chang'an and Morong Qi have a higher chance of success compared to the other disciples. I don't want them to die here. I previously thought Yang Tiandong was unreliable, and saw that Su Qi wasn't good at management, so I didn't bring it up to you. At this point, Hanju understood. The Yuqing sect will thank you. I thought you wanted to keep me here with your senior status. He quickly denied, we've already prepared ourselves. After all, a small temple cannot become a big monastery. It's not just our sect, even the spiritual energy in Dian is very limited for you. It's not surprising that you want to fly higher and further. With Dian's conditions, it's already very impressive that Yuqing sect has reached this scale. If Elder Han wants to sever his karma, it's fine. After all, you've already helped us so much, and it's time for you to live for yourself. Hanju thanked him seriously. I think Morong Qi has outstanding talent. You can take him to train. Hearing this, Li Qingzi immediately bowed. Elder Han is righteous. At this moment, he suddenly remembered to ask about Shi Chuan's lifespan, and Li Qingzi immediately reassured him, junior sisters. Talent is higher than mine, and she has previously gained special opportunities. Living for a few hundred years is no problem. Afterward, Li Qingzi took his leave and reminded Hanju, come visit me when you have time. He waved, watching him go. I am powerless in the path to immortality, but if fate allows in the next life, I will definitely try to help. After 7 years of seclusion, the earth and heaven grass Hanju had carefully nurtured finally gained spiritual intelligence. He opened a book and laughed wickedly. The weather is nice, perfect for sending a warm-hearted curse to Zhu Ke and Mo Yuling. At this moment, the system suddenly reminded Hanju that he hadn't checked his friend list in a long time. Seeing the notification that Yang Tian, Zhou Fan, and Mo Fuqiu were attacked by the Demon King at the same time, he was stunned. Returning to the battle underground with the green snake, he gritted his teeth and roared, who is it? The green snake's eyes flashed with anger and dangerous blue light. The broken spear fell, scattering with the rubble. The demon clan immediately panicked and shouted, stop her. Xian Shishir turned and slashed out a sword, so beautiful that it was mesmerizing. The red thread instantly snapped, and Zhou Fan and Mo Fuqiu called out in panic, Lord Xian. How did you come here? She did not answer, instead quietly kneeling down to gather strength. Afterwards, Xian Shishir directly ascended into the air, flying through the crack in the cave ceiling, taking 2 bound people with her as they screamed and flew away. Qing Mang and his subordinates looked up, gritting their teeth. Damn it. They escaped again. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and questioned, Dong and I. Explain this situation to this king. At this moment, Yang Tiandong had already been beaten to a bloody head, unconscious on the ground. A demon soldier reported, he has been knocked out by her. Hearing this, Qing Mang's face immediately darkened, cursing Yang Tiandong as a trash. Wake him up for me. Years later, after the war, Hanju sat in contemplation. That was years ago. Based on their faces, Zhou Fan and the others should still be alive. I believe you can turn disaster into peace. By now, he had entered the 6th level of the combined realm. In recent years, more and more old friends have entered the cycle of reincarnation. Hanju paused for a moment, then said in a deep voice, the Grand Elder has still left. I wonder how Master is doing. He looked up at the surrounding rocky scenery, lost in thought. After a moment, a gentle breeze blew through Yuwu Peak. Hanju stood hesitantly in front of the door, unsure whether to knock. It seems like I haven't visited Master in centuries. I wonder if Master will be upset with me. Finally, he mustered the courage to knock, and immediately a voice from inside called, come in. Moments later, the door opened, and Hanju was stunned to see the person in front of him. He hesitated and called out, Master. The door opened with 2 calls, Master. After a moment, Hanju's voice echoed in Yuwu Peak, I am deeply sorry about the Grand Elder. She immediately comforted, don't worry. He hung his head in dejection, the spiritual energy on Yuwu Peak is insufficient. Why don't you move to my place? I've specially prepared a luxurious cave residence for you, Master. Hanju looked up and smiled as he proposed. But Master gently frowned and refused, that's your mountain. It wouldn't be convenient for me to go there. The following words left her stunned. I have spent my life in hard cultivation, and few have cared for me. Now, fewer remain, but you, Master, are one of them. I don't want to be alone on this long journey of immortality. If possible. Hanju lowered his head and spoke softly. Do you still wish to walk this road with me? Master fell silent in thought. Hanju urged again, come, I won't disturb you normally. In the end, she agreed. After a while, the black-eyed rooster and Sun Chang'an carried a pile of luggage. He thought it was the cave residence Master specially prepared for him. What a false hope. The black-eyed rooster angrily shouted, I don't even have a cave residence. How dare you want a monkey? Sun Chang'an felt a bit awkward. For brothers like this, you might as well stay honestly on the hibiscus tree. On the other side, Hanju mischievously blinked, my cave residence is right next door. You can find me anytime if needed. Master gently responded with an Suddenly, the black-eyed rooster stepped forward and called out twice, Master, leaving him stunned. It pressed its chubby face close, does Fairy Shichuan want to eat someone clean? As a result, the black-eyed rooster became a little bird that was beaten and discarded by its master. During this time, in the vast snow-capped mountains of the northern border, Yang Tiandong stood alone facing a group of demons, showing his fangs and waving his claws to try and intimidate him. He lowered his head to hide his expression, wearing a straw hat. I definitely didn't mean to offend you. I just wanted to find your demon king. Hearing this, several demons immediately scattered, revealing sharp eyes. Yang Tiandong immediately got to the point. I want to team up with you to deal with the Qinghu Great Sage. We'll divide the territory later, what do you think? The pair of red eyes spoke in a deep voice, I advise you to give up on this idea. The Qinghu Great Sage is extremely difficult to deal with. Among the 10 states and 9 courts, few demons can defeat him. He immediately assured, I can go back to Dian and invite Demon King Tenzu. That demon has lived for 10,000 years, and his strength is not weaker than the Qinghu Great Sage. The person immediately froze when hearing Dian and Master's name. Yang Tiandong said firmly, you should understand with just a cold lip. The Qinghu Great Sage has been rapidly expanding, and will come here sooner or later. Right now, Wuxiang sect is surrounding him, consuming his strength. If you don't seize this opportunity now, we'll only end up being his dogs. These words immediately shook the Demon King. Upon hearing the other roar, Say it again if you dare. He immediately lost his momentum. Don't misunderstand. I didn't mean it like that. The Chaos Heavenly Dog frowned and walked out. Are you looking down on dogs? Yang Tiandong was so shocked he couldn't speak, taking off his straw hat. As soon as it saw his face, it widened its eyes in astonishment. Two screams echoed through the surrounding forest. Yang Tiandong, how is it you? Chaos Heavenly Dog, how come you're here? After a moment, the two sat angrily across from each other. The Chaos Heavenly Dog said, from now on, I am Chaos Great Sage. Yang Tiandong also refused to back down. What will Master think? Do you believe I'll go tell Master? He gritted his teeth and threatened. The Chaos Heavenly Dog immediately flared up. You're shameless enough to go find the old man, and you still dare to say that about me. After saying that, Yang Tiandong nervously touched his face. At least we are from the same family line. We should support each other, right? I heard you're often hunted by other demon kings. Life must be tough. How about this? Let's team up with senior brother to take down the Qinghu Great Sage. I'll take 70% of the territory. You take 30%. He proposed, full of ambition. The Chaos Heavenly Dog immediately refused. I can't beat him. Yang Tiandong tried to persuade. I know that just the two of us won't be enough. In the future, I will also recruit surrounding demon kings. More people means stronger power. Think about it, we've been fighting outside for so many years to become stronger, not to fall behind, and to make the old man proud. This is an opportunity to face the people of Jiangdong. It's not shameful. In the end, the Chaos Heavenly Dog was swayed and agreed. Yang Tiandong happily shouted, I knew dogs are the best. The Chaos Heavenly Dog angrily roared, call me Chaos Great Sage. 8 years later, at Yuqing sect, Mo Rongqi stood quietly with his arms crossed on the highest rooftop, solemnly gazing at the surrounding scene. Now, he had reached the peak of the Golden Core realm, once invincible below the nascent soul and serving as the new inner sect Grand Elder. Suddenly, someone hurriedly flew over on a sword to deliver news. Senior Brother Morong, it's bad. 2 fallen and demonic disciples from our sect have returned. Morongqi immediately looked up and asked, where are they? Hearing the disciples reply, they have already entered the bitter cultivation to Immortality Mountain. He immediately rushed to the ancestor, then there's no problem. Morongqi calmly responded. At this moment, at the foot of the bitter cultivation to Immortality Mountain, Zhou Fan and Ma Fuzhou sighed, we've finally returned. Yuqing sect has really changed a lot. He smiled, it feels like the spiritual energy is much stronger than before. I wonder how Ma Zhu is doing now. Zhou Fan darkly suggested, let's go find junior sister later. I want to see. He showed a mischievous smile, how strong is Han Zhu now? Ma Fuzhou hesitated slightly and advised, recently, Yuqing sect even swallowed up the blood flame heavenly gate. Han Zhu is very likely stronger than us. Zhou Fan immediately analyzed, it's because the blood flame heavenly gate was forced into a desperate situation by Wuxiang sect. Wuxiang sect didn't come here to stir up trouble mainly because the sect master's matters delayed the process. After saying this, he also felt it made sense. He then pointed to the disciples over there and said, Yuqing sect might not be stronger than the blood flame heavenly gate. After looking, Ma Fuzhou had no rebuttal. How many years has it been and they're still adding railings to the flying sword? Just as the two were passionately discussing, Yuqing sect's strength really can't compare to major sects. Xian Shishir walked over. She was surprised and said, how could these two not notice that the spiritual energy in that mountain is so rich? It's almost catching up with the secret holy lands and ancient families. At this point, Zhou Fan, disregarding Ma Fuzhou's objections, shouted loudly with fervor, Han Zhu, I, Zhou Fan, have come. I'm going to beat you until your teeth fall out. At the same time, Han Zhu was instructing his disciples in front of his manor, today, I will teach you the absolute finger divine sword. Whether you can master it depends on your fortune. After saying this, he raised 2 fingers and used his spiritual power. Look at the path of my spiritual energy, circulating for a full cycle, and shooting spiritual energy from my fingertips. Hearing this, the black-eyed rooster awkwardly hesitated and said it didn't have fingers, showing an indescribable expression. Top-tier feathers will do. After a moment, it raised its wings, trying to perform the technique. Look at my family's unrivaled divine sword. The black-eyed rooster shouted, swinging its wings in a straight line toward the front. The large rock in front immediately shattered, and it excitedly cheered. Hanju also nodded in satisfaction and praised. From now on, call it the absolute position rooster knee. Zun Chang'an asked in confusion, what breed of rooster is it? Its talent doesn't seem like that of a chicken. Before he could answer, the black-eyed rooster unhappily shoved its face forward, telling Zun Chang'an to call it chicken. Family. I've told you before, the chicken family is a phoenix. Do you really think chicken family means chicken? It proudly looked towards the horizon, while the two were drenched in sweat. Your weight is truly unworthy of a phoenix. Suddenly, the system announcement appeared with the name of the strongest in Yuqing sect, Xian Shishir, Demon Lords Combined Realm, 9th level. Hanju widened his eyes in surprise and said, the Demon Lord's younger sister? Isn't she your wife's younger sister? At that moment, Zhou Fan and Ma Fuzhou happily walked over to greet him, followed by the Xian Shishir who had just been mentioned. He put on a lewd smile, do you remember me? He playfully winked, it's been so many years, Han brother still so charming. Hanju glanced at him as if seeing through everything, replying, I remember. Zhou brother, Ma brother, these years must not have been easy, right? He silently watched them, and immediately, his arrogance vanished as he crawled into a corner, crying in pain. After a while, Zhou Fan turned his head and pretended to be proud. I've lived freely these years. I've traveled everywhere with my sword, settling debts and gaining many opportunities. In response, Hanju gave him a sinister smile full of meaning. Suddenly, Zhou Fan jumped up and challenged him, leaving him stunned. Although I lost to you before, now I've cultivated the overlord body. Just like you did back then with your nascent soul to / transformation, now I am a half-step transformation, so I have the right to duel with you. After all these years, you should still be in the transformation stage, right? He confidently declared. Zhou Fan smiled proudly, though in his heart, he wasn't sure. Without good fortune, it was hard for a nascent soul cultivator to make a breakthrough just through hard practice. Hanju continued to wear that lecherous smile, you've just returned, and you're in a rush? You should go report to the sect master about the fallen and demonic disciples. He provocatively said, aren't you afraid? If you're afraid of losing and being embarrassed, we can quietly compete here. If you want to roam, my brother Ma and I can take you along. Zhou Fan seemed to already be confident of victory, muttering to himself. Suddenly, the black-eyed rooster staggered out, who are you? A nascent soul brat dares challenge my master. Do you believe I can slap you to death with one of my claws? He wasn't scared and coldly snorted, mocking Hanju, this chicken you raised sure is arrogant. These words immediately made the rooster narrow its eyes dangerously. Zhou Fan ignored him and turned to start mocking, while Hanju casually said he had no objections. Then he gave a sly smile and reminded, remember, don't hurt that guy. He immediately widened his eyes in disbelief, staring at the words Hanju said. On the other side, Ma Fuzhou was also stunned, because it was clear Hanju wasn't talking to Zhou Fan. Only Shen Shishir noticed that Hanju was definitely not as simple as he appeared, as she could see the cultivation level of this demon pet. Shen Shishir confidently looked at the black-eyed rooster and quietly thought, it's at the void realm. Zhou Fan immediately exploded in anger, loudly questioning, Hanju, what do you mean? You think I can't defeat it? Ma Fuzhou stepped forward, patted his shoulder, and advised, this chicken is not normal, better let it go. We've just returned. And should rest for a few days first, figure out Hanju's background, and then it won't be too late for the duel. But Zhou Fan obviously didn't listen, he shouted, it's just a chicken. No need to fear wolves in the front and tigers in the back. After saying that, Zhou Fan suddenly ripped off his clothes, leaving Hanju in front of him stunned. Then, he crossed his arms and began to perform his technique. Zhou Fan suddenly opened his chest and let out a roar, his spiritual power immediately scattering. Ma Fuzhou looked at Hanju worriedly, but Hanju smiled slightly and comforted, I won't let them hurt each other. Over there, Zhou Fan, after transforming, started laughing disdainfully again. This form has killed a transformation cultivator before. That guy, you should consider yourself honored. Seeing the black-eyed rooster not reacting, he thought it was injured. I apologize to you now, the Zhou family won't hold this against you. Upon hearing this, the rooster disdainfully rolled its eyes, letting out a dismissive "oh," full of contempt. The other party was immediately enraged and rushed forward to throw a punch, ungrateful. Zhou Fan's fist drew a fiery line, heading straight for the black-eyed rooster. He gritted his teeth and exerted all his strength, delivering a stunning heavy blow. A loud crash shattered large rocks and shook the entire mountain range. Ma Fuzhou immediately panicked and said, this punch has caused serious injury to transformation cultivators. Before. How should we explain this to Brother Han? Xin Shishir, however, remained calm and assessed. You used a big move as soon as you came in, not following the usual way. It's fine, but... At that moment, the black-eyed rooster appeared, its face showing a confused expression, not understanding what had just happened. It looked down at the person who had punched its belly, and aside from a slight indentation on its belly, the black-eyed rooster was unharmed. It calmly asked Zhou Fan, is that it? Zhou Fan immediately froze, as if turned to stone, his expression one of disbelief. Then, Zhou Fan gritted his teeth and pulled back his hand, how can this be? A sick bird like you dares mock me? If I wasn't worried about offending Brother Han, I would have used my full power. Now, are you going to behave and listen? This was his real state as he howled while unleashing his magic. Zhou Fan then used the violent crush demon silver palm, and its destructive power was even more astonishing than before. Seeing the black-eyed rooster and shattered rocks flying into the air, Zun Chang'an exclaimed, such a heavy thing can actually be blasted away? Just then, Zhou Fan reappeared in the air, stepping toward where it was floating. The black-eyed rooster was struck directly on its round face, receiving a heavy kick. Then he raised his fist and roared madly, is that all? Yes, this is all. It then received a series of punches, hitting its face and body. Soon, Zhou Fan bent his legs, preparing for a decisive strike. He forcefully stretched his legs and kicked, sending the black-eyed rooster flying like a jet. It was kicked so far that it passed through several layers of clouds and shot directly toward the vast universe. Moments later, the black-eyed rooster leisurely floated, as if basking in the sun in mid-air. It seemed bored, squinting its eyes and saying, is that it? The black-eyed rooster remembered what Hanju had taught it many years ago, when fighting someone, first make sure to understand their true level. Some people are reckless but far exceed their own cultivation level, while others are cunning, particularly fond of pretending to be foolish and catching others off guard. When testing the other party, the worst thing is to reveal too much of your own strength, allowing the enemy to find an opening. In short, it's always good to be cautious. The black-eyed rooster closed its eyes and meditated, hold on a little longer, what if he still has a trump card? It's better to be cautious, and that mysterious girl who can be with her must be extraordinary. With this thought, it opened its eyes and saw Zhou Fan raising a massive fireball, ready to smash it. He unleashed his full power with round sun sky-shattering blast, aiming to finish off the black-eyed rooster. Ma Fuzhou saw this and immediately panicked, trying to stop him, a fatal blow at the transformation level. This is too much, Zhou Fan. But before he could finish his words, a massive explosion rang out in the sky, covering the sun. Ma Fuzhou's face darkened as he hurried to explain, but Hanju remained calm, it's fine, no major issue. Zhou Fan immediately stopped, his expression changing as he thought of something. At that moment, Zhou Fan trembled in shock, what kind of monster is this? Even with all my strength, I can't move it. The black-eyed rooster, or rather, the black-eyed phoenix, sneered, is this all you've got? I didn't expect you to be so weak. It was only at this point that Zhou Fan realized in horror, it's been testing me this whole time? An amazing light flashed in the black-eyed rooster's eyes, that's right, I'm not pretending anymore. Countless sword energies flew towards him, and it excitedly shouted, flip the card. The black-eyed rooster angrily yelled, kid, get ready to face the fury of the void realm. The 3 words void realm shocked Joe Fan immensely. Under its immense pressure, he couldn't move, his mind going blank. Joe Fan felt this scene was eerily familiar, the aura of death exactly like the last time. More importantly, he suddenly remembered a girl. Joe Fan recalled Lu Jiao's gentle figure, calling out to him, "Joe Fan, let's go together." He remembered their childhood. He was born into a carpenter's family, and Lu Jiao, the neighbor's girl, was his only friend. They quickly became childhood sweethearts. When they were young, Joe Fan often carved wood sculptures, and she would always curiously ask what he was carving. He would happily answer, "A super birdman." After seeing the sculpture, Lu Jiao complained, "It's so ugly. Why does it have 2 mouths?" He awkwardly replied, "Don't mind the details." Later, Joe Fan and Lu Jiao were both noticed by the Yuqing sect due to their exceptional spiritual roots. The villagers were thrilled and said, "Our village is going to have a bright future." During his time in the outer sect's chi refining stage, Joe Fan used his outstanding talent to become invincible in the sect, quickly rising to become an inner sect disciple. He declared that he would protect his childhood friend, Jiao, for life. But the good times didn't last. When Joe Fan entered the foundation establishment stage, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't accumulate spiritual energy in his dantian. The inner sect elders tried every method, but couldn't find the cause, meaning he couldn't advance in cultivation. The once bold oath shattered, as if his Tao heart also collapsed into nothingness. If Lu Jiao hadn't pleaded for him, Joe Fan would have been expelled from the sect long ago. She was the only one in the entire sect who still believed he would rise again. Once a genius, now painfully falling from the peak. When he was bullied and considered a useless person, she stood up with a sword to protect him, disregarding the persuasion of their fellow disciples. Lu Jiao always believed that one day, Joe Fan would become the strongest cultivator in the world and urged him not to give up on himself. But he felt that he couldn't do it, so in his anger, he spoke harshly to her. Afterward, Joe Fan left. His low self-esteem made him continuously avoid her and resort to any means to push Lu Jiao away. He had countless times imagined, if I regain my strength, I can protect her from behind again, but unfortunately, there is no if. One day not long after, Lu Jiao came to tell Joe Fan a shocking news. Senior brother Yi from Sword Peak confessed to me yesterday, and I agreed to him. This sentence struck him like a lightning bolt. At that moment, he felt, it seems like I've really lost her. There are 3 paths to growth: being defeated by yourself, understanding yourself, and becoming yourself. After losing Lu Jiao, Joe Fan progressed to the 2nd step, moving past his deep sadness and cultivating day and night. Suddenly one day, the spiritual treasure of his destiny appeared and said, "In the previous life, you blocked the cycle of reincarnation. For me, so I can only borrow your spiritual power to repair. To show my gratitude, I am willing to give you a technique of burning and a method of controlling the fiery heat of the heavens and the cooling of the earth. What do you think?" Upon hearing this, Joe Fan was enraged, punched it, and cursed, "What the hell is this heaven's fire? I don't need it." Afterward, with the help of his destiny treasure, Joe Fan was reborn, and his cultivation speed far exceeded his previous peak. He swore, "The things I lost must be regained. I will defeat all disciples, become the strongest of Yuqing sect, marry Lu Jiao, and reach the pinnacle of my life." But Joe Fan was unlucky enough to encounter Han Ju, who defeated him in less than 3 seconds. All his hopes turned to ashes, and Lu Jiao refused to believe a single word he said and didn't want to see him. At that time, only Imo Fuzhou came to comfort Joe Fan. On the day Lu Jiao married, the two stood on the rooftop observing, then decisively chose to leave. Later, they encountered a monster. Joe Fan held the monster and jumped into the abyss to allow Imo Fuzhou to escape. He couldn't bear to see him fall into the abyss, but there was nothing he could do. At the moment of death, Joe Fan could only whisper, "I'm sorry." He felt sorry for Lu Jiao because he couldn't fulfill the promise, "We will meet again in the next life." Joe Fan's body lay quietly at the bottom of the abyss for a long time. He thought he was going to die, but then he woke up, and his hands could move. At that moment, Zhou Fan realized he had fallen into a strange place, with countless eyes staring at him. Thus, the inheritance of the overlord body began. He survived like a miracle, realizing that deep down, he still hadn't let go of Lu Jiao, so he decided to go home and resolve his heart's knots. When they met again, she was already a mother. The child looked exactly like her when she was young. Seeing this scene, for some reason, he felt a strange sense of relief in his heart. Taking advantage of Lu Jiao's time buying things, Zhou Fan approached and chatted with the child. "Little one, it's not safe to walk alone on the road. Where are your parents?" The child happily replied, "Mommy went to buy crispy candy." The two happily conversed. "Crispy candy is good, you must really like it." "I love it. Grandpa even wanted to rename me Tang. Tang, but Mommy disagreed. Because my name was chosen by her." After hearing this, Zhou Fan asked, "What's your name?" The name Xiao Fan made him freeze in place. By the time Lu Jiao returned, he had already left. She called out, "Let's go home, Xiao Fan." "What are you looking at?" The little boy waved his hand and said, "A flying uncle gave me a gift." Seeing this, she didn't understand. "What is that?" Then, Xiao Fan suddenly took out a statue and showed it, saying, "Uncle said this is a super birdman." Time passed quickly, and Lu Yao had grown old. She took the little bird statue to visit the graveyard. She gently touched it and murmured, "It seems like he's the only one left. My husband died in the invasion of the demonic sect, and Fanner, who had no cultivation talent, passed away early. Now, Lu Yao has little time left, and besides Zhao Fan, she has nothing. The disciples of the sect say he has fallen into the demonic path and is slaughtering everywhere, but she doesn't believe he's that kind of person. This is also her fault. She never thought that the provocations back then would lead him down the wrong path." Lu Yao asked herself, after tormenting him for so many years, "He must hate me, right?" At that moment, Zhao Fan was also present, hiding in a nearby tree. Time passed, and Lu Yao had grown old. Suddenly, she noticed some movement and immediately thought of Zhao Fan, shouting anxiously. Upon seeing this, he quickly turned and flew away, ignoring Lu Yao's calls. Zhao Fan silently thought, "Thank you for your kind intentions. If there's a next life, I'll work for you like a cow or horse. But in this life, I want to try to become that illusory immortal god." Under the brilliant sunlight, he and Ma Fuqi flew, and their voices rang out on the way. "Brother Zhao, where to next?" "To find Han Ju and fight him again, to resolve the last heart demon. Yuqing sect is quite far. To take a shortcut, we have to cross the monster storm." At that moment, a voice interrupted Zhao Fan's thoughts. "This is where it ends." He then woke up, realizing that Han Ju had already broken the illusion. The black-eyed rooster obediently nodded, "As you command, master." Zhao Fan was shocked to discover that Han Ju had neutralized the attack from the Void Realm with just one hand. Zhao Fan was completely stunned by Han Ju's actions. No matter how low his mood was as he sat there. Ma Fuqi spoke with Han Ju. "Brother Han, what realm are you in now?" "Is it the Void Realm?" Han Ju coldly replied, "Close enough." Su Shishir fell silent upon hearing this, unsure of what to say. Ma Fuqi sighed, "As expected of Brother Han, we had to work hard to reach the nascent soul realm, but you achieved the Void Realm in such a short time. Looks like I underestimated your talent." Su Shishir helplessly thought, "Some things are better left unsaid." She then spoke, "Brother Zhao seems to still be unconscious, perhaps we should let him rest for now. And also report to the sect." Ma Fuqi immediately agreed. Seeing Zhao Fan still unconscious, he was pulled away. And the black-eyed rooster disdainfully said, "You want to defeat the rooster family? You're far from it." It excitedly asked, "Master, how did I do?" "I didn't embarrass you, right?" Han Ju coldly replied, "Is the Void Realm really that strong? Don't say I didn't warn you, that girl just now is a 9th layer cultivator in the combined body realm." The black-eyed rooster turned pale at this remark and immediately recalled the scene where it was slain by Su Shishir. Zhao Fan pinched its face to wake it up and then reminded, her relationship with Zhao Fan is complicated. If you hurt her, think about the consequences. Even I might not be able to protect you. Hanju thought, let's get back to the things we need to pay attention to. When fighting, remember to analyze whether there are more powerful beings among the enemies, so we don't underestimate the old man. The black-eyed rooster immediately understood. Meanwhile, Zhao Fan and Ma Fuqi kneeled and apologized to Li Qingzi, accepting their punishment. The news quickly spread, and everyone began to discuss it. Did you hear the news? The two senior brothers who betrayed our sect and joined the demonic path have returned. Are you saying Zhao Fan and Ma Fuqi were defeated at the grand meeting back then? At this moment, Zhao Fan was still sitting on the ground, lost in thought. Ma Fuqi stood, watching, unsure of what to say. Su Shishir curiously asked, are you surprised? You're still so calm, did you already predict this result? He analyzed, I know that with Hanju's talent, reaching the void realm is within expectations. Also, talents can't be the same. Not everyone can grow rapidly through hard training like him. So Hanju is an exception, we don't need to worry. Hearing this, she thought, I wonder if I should say I'm already at the combined body realm. Just then, Ma Zhuan happily ran to find her brother. Ma Fuqi was also very happy to see his sister. However, when he saw she had reached the nascent soul realm, he was shocked and stared wide-eyed. Ma Fuqi shouted, you've broken through to the nascent soul realm? How did you do it? Ma Zhu calmly answered, I saw senior brother Han cultivating quickly, so I followed and learned. She asked confusedly, what's so surprising about that? Isn't it normal? This completely angered Ma Fuqi, and he immediately exploded in fury. His eyes seemed to be burning with flames, and he roared fiercely, I fought for my life outside, went through countless hardships just to reach the nascent soul realm. The more he spoke, the angrier he became, his voice trembling, why do you close yourself off every day to cultivate, but still manage to catch up to me? Where's the fairness in this? Am I not suited for cultivation? Do I still need to go outside to train, or should I just stay in the sect? He then fell into silence and sat down next to Zhao Fan. The two girls stood helplessly, watching. Currently, the 11th Ming Sect's 100 Sect Grand Dao Conference was being held in Zaiwanzu. In a tea house, there were two groups, one sipping tea and discussing Dao, while the other focused on playing mahjong. Someone leisurely put down their cards and asked, 80,000? Shangguan Qiujian advised, I told you, you should go out and interact more with fellow Taoists. This will help improve your realm and also benefit the development of Jiulong sect. You can't just close yourself off. His sharp gaze swept over Wei Yuan and asked, do you agree, sect leader Wei? The person, focused on the mahjong game, responded indifferently, next time, for sure. Despite appearing calm on the surface, Wei Yuan's heart was in chaos. Why does my heart feel like it's racing and I can't escape? Have I been stuck indoors too long? Now I'm afraid of socializing? Just then, a huge commotion suddenly occurred, catching everyone's attention. Something quickly ran over, suddenly slamming to a halt, sending dust flying and filling the air. Yang Tiandong gasped in pain, slowly regaining his composure. After the dust settled, the figure of Yang Tiandong riding on the Chaos Celestial Dog appeared. Wei Yuan observed and muttered to himself, isn't that Yang Tiandong, the disciple of the reincarnation senior? He immediately turned and said loudly, fellow Taoists, the one riding the dog is an old acquaintance of mine. Would you all be willing to help me out? Without hesitation, everyone agreed, as they thought they had no chance to exchange martial arts techniques. While Yang Tiandong was still confused and unsure of what to do, Wei Yuan said, Yang Tiandong, come stand behind me. Soon, he and the celestial dog were protected by everyone. Qiu Jian said disdainfully, I'd like to see who dares to act recklessly here. A huge figure quickly appeared, holding an eye in its hand. The green python roared, a group of ants dares to block this king? You're courting death. Wei Yuan had never felt such a terrifying aura before. Someone stepped forward and said loudly, fellow Taoists, after hundreds of years, I've comprehended. The one-finger combined strike technique, and its power can reach the peak of the core formation realm. Would you all be willing to help me test it? Immediately, everyone offered their assistance. The person was glowing with brilliance, surrounded by golden lightning. After gaining enough power, he released intense lightning while shouting, "Damnable creature! Die!" The green python also launched an attack, charging at the person. Immediately, a loud bang was heard. The people behind were astonished, realizing, a demon at the peak of the core formation realm? The green python sneered, "You overestimate yourselves." Then it swung its giant axe, intending to drive everyone back. Wei Yuan quickly escaped, panting when he got home, muttering to himself, "Luckily, I ran fast. I'll never go out again in this life, and I certainly won't rescue people carelessly." He thought, running away isn't a long-term solution. The Green Python Saint's influence was growing too quickly, and Western Yuan province would be devoured next. It was only a matter of time before it took over the cultivation world of Great Yen. Wei Yuan immediately thought of Hanju. I wonder if Reincarnation Senior can resist the Green Python Saint? Reincarnation Senior must hold on. At this moment, in Hanju's cave, a voice called from behind the mountain, "Senior Brother Han." MANHWA and Xian Shishir came happily to greet him. "How has everyone been recently?" Hanju felt powerless when he saw the situation before him. He saw Zhao Fan and Mo Fuchi being dragged on the ground. It seems they're not doing well. They've probably passed away. MANHWA calmly responded, "It's fine, they'll be fine soon." Then they walked towards the resting area. Mo Fuchi gratefully said, "Thank you, Senior Brother Han. If it weren't for your protection, my little sister would have become a corpse in the wilderness by now." He sighed dejectedly, "After all, the Ma family has too many enemies. I heard my sister broke through because you helped. Is there any way you can help me break through?" Hanju immediately refused, saying, "This matter is quite a waste of clothes." Upon hearing this, Ma Fuchio turned her head in surprise to look at Manhwa, wanting to know what was going on. She just shyly said, "Brother, don't say any more." Hanju explained, "This is related to the demonic technique passed down in your family. But practicing now is useless, the previous inheritance only happened once." Then he asked concernedly about Zhou Fan's condition. Now, his figure not only disappeared, but also his outline was gone. Ma Fuchio reassured him, "His mentality has always been good, and he will recover soon. As long as there is hope, he won't give up. The last time we were captured by the Green Barbarian Saint, it was because he and Lord Shen appeared that we were able to escape." He immediately became intrigued by the words, "Green Barbarian Saint." He described the situation at the time. "At that time, when we were captured and brought to the lair, we met someone. Zhou Fan recognized him as a disciple of your family, Yang Tiandong. But now, he has completely transformed into a demon." This news shocked Hanju. Ma Fuchio frowned and continued, "If he hadn't sworn allegiance to the Green Barbarian Saint as a foster father and secretly helped us escape, we would have been roasted and eaten by now." Upon hearing this, Hanju angrily slammed the teacup onto the table. She quickly tried to stop him. "Brother Han, don't be angry. The fact that he risked his life to let us go proves his conscience is still intact, he can still be saved." Hanju angrily bit out the words, "Sworn to a foster father again? Was this kid's previous life named Lu?" He recalled how Jingyang Tiandong had acted arrogantly in front of the Green Barbarian Saint. Seeing the situation worsening, Ma Fuchio hurriedly explained, "Brother Han, don't worry. Yang Tiandong should just be using a temporary strategy. On our way back, we heard that he teamed up with the Chaos Great Saint and the Demon King to encircle and suppress him." He hesitated before continuing, "But it seems they have already been killed by the Green Barbarian Saint, not even leaving a trace." Seeing Hanju troubled, Manhwa comforted him, "Brother Han, don't be angry. They brought this upon themselves." But the face hidden behind his hand was unchanged, showing no expression. After reviewing the battle information, Hanju sighed to himself, "Quite a few serious injuries. Looks like the Chaos Great Saint is Dogden Kuan who ran away. I didn't expect him to be beaten along with the evil disciples." Xian Shishir also spoke up, "The Green Barbarian Saint could enter the Transcendence realm at any moment, his cultivation is unfathomable. When I saved these two, I almost got injured. Hanju was drawn to the words Transcendence Realm. Ma Fuxiu sighed, such a great demon is a disaster for our human race. I wonder if Yang Tiandong can escape. After reading the report on Yang Tiandong and the Chaos Celestial Dog situation, Hanju asked himself, a peak of the core formation realm can't defeat the green barbarian saint? The dog's hide is thick, and the flesh is tough. Escaping after serious injuries isn't a problem. But how could this evil disciple escape from the green barbarian saint's hands? System report, Huang Tianzuan and Shangguan Qiujian are both seriously injured. He speculated, could these two have delayed the green barbarian saint? One is in the first layer of the void fusion realm, and the other is at the 9th layer. They shouldn't be his match. Ma Fuqiu said discontentedly, every time I think about the threat of the green barbarian saint, I'm scared and can't sleep the whole night. Ma Zhu helplessly replied, brother, here we go again. Suddenly, Hanju made a suggestion, brother Ma, why not stay and cultivate in Yuking sect from now on? He pondered, if it were anyone else saying this, I might have dismissed it, but Hanju is different. These are actual battle achievements, and hard cultivation isn't impossible. He thought to himself, but on the surface, Ma Fuqiu still replied, I will consider it carefully. He explained, although the Ma family's enemies don't dare to trouble us, it's not suitable for me, a demon cultivator, to stay in Yuking sect. Sooner or later, someone will come looking for trouble. Hanju agreed, how about you focus on cultivating here for now? I'll take charge of things. Upon hearing this, Ma Fuqiu politely responded, brother Han, you're too kind. Zhou Fan indeed needs rest. Next time, I'll treat you to a good meal. He immediately agreed. Just then, Xian Shishir behind them suddenly drew her sword. Hanju's sharp eyes immediately noticed. As she rushed forward, Hanju quickly dodged. Xian Shishir missed her attack, and her eyes turned bloodshot. She spun around, using the force to strike a decisive and powerful sword chi. But at that moment, Xian Shishir's eyes suddenly froze. Before she could react, a golden light sliced across her neck. Hanju successfully defeated Xian Shishir with a palm strike. He then disdainfully said, as a peak core formation cultivator, her strength is indeed lacking. Xian Shishir's head separated from her neck and spun in the air, with blood gushing out. It fell heavily to the ground. Hanju thought to himself, even as a core formation 6th layer, I can kill someone at the 9th layer. Looks like the green python saint may not be so strong. I should set up some talismans, just in case I die in this tribulation, at least I'll have an explanation. Suddenly, the system spoke, simulation training completed, overtime by 4 seconds. Hanju closed his eyes and recalled the battle. He seemed to see Xian Shishir waving her hand. It felt as if someone was standing in front of him. Hanju opened his eyes and looked around. Xian Shishir spoke, brother Han. She raised her head and stared at Hanju. May I ask if you have a Dao partner? Hanju was slightly surprised and asked in confusion, why do you ask, fellow Daoist? Xian Shishir gazed at him, pondering, it's nothing, just asking casually. Hanju, warily, thought of Xian Qingjun, she's Xian Qingjuan's junior sister. Could she have sent her? Why does it sound like she's asking about my fate? Has the demon lord not noticed I have a new love? Xian Shishir's face was full of thought, could he not be the Dao partner senior sister mentioned? But he's already at the core formation realm, maybe that Dao partner is in the transformation god realm. Ma Fuqiu shouted from behind, Lord Shen, Yuking sect is having a food festival, come join us for a meal. Ma Zhu happily said, snail noodles are always the best. Hearing this, Xian Shishir turned and responded. She smiled at Hanju, saying, I'm sorry, I must take my leave. He stood aside, his ears perked as he listened to Xian Shishir's words from afar, could I have mistaken the person? But senior sister still asked me to pass on the message. That Dao partner wouldn't dare seek out a new love, right? He cursed inwardly, damn, she really was sent by Xian Qingjun. Luckily, I didn't let her meet Xing Hongchuan. Why did Xian Qingjun choose me as her Dao partner? When can I hide it? Over here, the three of them gradually walked. Away, with MISU lifting Zhou Fan over his head. Hanju worried in his heart, what if someone finds out one day? At a restaurant, MISU and Ma Fuqiu were eating heartily, having even eaten several bowls. Xian Shishir, looking displeased, covered her nose and said, "It smells so bad, can this be eaten?" Zhou Fan still sat beside them, vacant-eyed. Meanwhile, on a mountain, there was a head of an antelope hanging at the entrance as a symbol. Qing Meng sat on a high place and complained, "Why is there always a disturbance from the talismanic powers during my cultivation recently?" He was extremely angry. If it weren't for the spiritual treasure, the power of these talismans would have succeeded by now. It seems it's time to break through to the tribulation stage. If I delay any longer, there might be problems. Suddenly, a giant eagle demon flew in to report, Yang Tiandong has already entered the ancient Yuanzhou. It landed on Qing Meng's hand. Do we need to continue chasing him? He clenched his fists and replied, of course. I'll chase him down wherever he runs. Qing Meng gritted his teeth angrily. If I don't tear him apart, I won't be able to relieve this hatred. He said furiously, Yang Tiandong, I treated you like my own son, yet you betrayed me. I never expected to meet you just when I wanted to expand. Qing Meng ordered his subordinates below, send the order down, if any human sects inquire, say that Yang Tiandong betrayed me, and that's why I'm hunting him down. Upon hearing the order, the subordinates shouted, understood. Suddenly, a light flashed from the staff in his hand, and the talismanic power attacked again, causing the subordinates to exclaim in disbelief, damn. It's back again. He calmly said, these little tricks aren't worth fearing. Meanwhile, Hanju was holding a magic book, his eyes bloodshot as he thought, I wonder if the talismanic power has affected Qing Meng? It feels like a curse. He put down the magic book and looked at his social circle, feeling displeased. No reactions in the circle. Yang Tiandong was attacked by the demon beasts, and Qing Meng is in seclusion preparing for a breakthrough? Hanju's face darkened, and he worried, this kid will definitely come looking for me once he's cornered. What if he comes? I've never fought anyone at the tribulation stage. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. If I can't win? No, increasing cultivation to raise my realm is the best method. Meanwhile, Qing Meng was also restless. I must speed up the process. I need to lay a good foundation before the tribulation. He suddenly stood up, waving his staff and shouting loudly, once I reach the tribulation stage, don't even talk about that bastard's life or death. Even if it's in the mortal realm, it will become my zombie. At that moment, in the northern state, the sky was dark and filled with fire. The demon beast sect fell into a deathly silence, with soldiers lying on the ground and blood everywhere. Su Qi looked around in surprise, what's going on? Are they all dead? After the demon lord left, Su Qi found an opportunity to escape the valley and return to the demon beast sect. But the elite forces of the sect had all perished, leaving only Su Qi, who had luckily escaped and was imprisoned in the dungeon, enduring daily torture. Su Qi's face turned pale as he suddenly realized, no wonder they haven't come for months, and the dungeon's restrictions are ineffective. They've all died. He looked up at the sky. Did my master see me suffering in the dungeon and take action? Su Qi's face was full of worry, but why didn't my master just bring me back? The vultures were happily pecking at the corpses. He suddenly realized and shouted loudly, wait. If the demon beast sect was destroyed by my master, doesn't that mean I can return? Su Qi was filled with excitement. It must be that my master wants me to undergo some trials on my way back. How thoughtful of my master. The little boy excitedly pulled up the cloak on the ground. The road back is long, we can't rush, we need to see if there's anything valuable to take just in case. Putting on the cloak, Takaya's eyes were full of malice. If there are any living people, don't blame me for adding another knife. The little boy walked a bit and discovered something behind the ruins. Takai couldn't help but curse in surprise. Takai was surprised to find someone behind the ruins. There are still living people. Ko was holding a human head, turned to look at Takai, slightly puzzled. Are you a disciple of the demon beast sect? The little boy asked confusedly, who are you? The person repliedly, I was once a disciple of the demon beast sect. Ko painfully reminisced, but I was expelled by my master for making a mistake. Many years have passed, and when I came back, I didn't expect the entire sect to be destroyed. Tukaya's face turned grim with suspicion. Does this old man want to rebuild the demon beast sect? No, I need to show him some authority first. The little boy began to focus his energy, with electric sparks flickering around. I don't want to stay here. Now that I am in the nascent soul stage, dealing with him shouldn't be a problem. Ko continued to talk about the past. I used my divine abilities to search for several days, but still couldn't find my master. I feel guilty for not being able to repay him. Takai was preparing to attack but seemed not to notice. It was hard to reach the tribulation stage and relieve my burdens. What should I do now? The little boy was so surprised that he nearly lost his composure. Tribulation stage? After a long time, Duko turned around and asked, So, do you know where my master's body is? Unexpectedly, Takai didn't attack him but attacked another direction. Duko was surprised but also grateful. Thank you for your kindness, but this method of searching is not right. At this point, Duko introduced himself. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Duko, and you? Takai replied and thought, I almost missed my chance. 7 years later, Han Tuet appeared with the powerful strength of the 7th layer of the fusion stage. The black-eyed chicken slept peacefully in the nest. Han Tuet looked at it and sighed, Little Black has gained weight again. Then he looked at Tuan Truong and sitting nearby, Tuan Truong has generated more spiritual power after cultivation. He thought about his master. Master's aura has clearly transformed. Bringing Master here back then was indeed a wise decision. While thinking, Han Tuet noticed the system interface suddenly appearing. After reading the information on it, he sighed, everyone is really unfortunate. Chang Yuer and Jioding Jinren were also attacked. It seems things outside aren't peaceful. Luckily I didn't go out. Zhou Fan, can't you rest for a bit? After a year of hard cultivation, Ma Fuzhou finally left the Yuqing sect. At that time, Ma Fuzhou waved and shouted, Sect Master's younger sister, I've made my decision. Let's head back. Zhou Fan's face was displeased. Ma Jume, go back and tell Han Tuet that I, Zhou Fan, will definitely defeat him next time, at least defeat the black chicken he raised. Ma Jume cried and promised to remind them to ensure their safety. Li Qingzi, standing nearby, also warned, you two brats, don't embarrass the Yuqing sect outside. Han Jue was also thinking, the path of hard cultivation for immortality ultimately belongs only to a few contrarians, and stepping into prosperity and disputes is their end. But then he saw something different. A notification appeared on the system screen. Su Qi has been severely injured, and the entire demon beast sect has been annihilated. Han Jue couldn't believe his eyes. The demon beast sect is gone just like that. Su Qi is forever a god. Han Jue silently sighed, well, this is the force I feared. It fell before we even met. The demon beast sect lasted this long, at least it wasn't a wasted life. Kid Su Qi, don't randomly call someone your adoptive father. How could the demon lord help him? Maybe the demon lord had this plan all along, using Su Qi? It must be like this. He placed Su Qi's portrait on the offering table. Su Qi, I've decided to write you into the family tree. Han Jue was holding 3 incense sticks when he suddenly heard a loud voice, Husband, I'm back. Xing Hongchuan walked in with a troubled expression, her breath heavy. He turned around and saw her walking in weakly. Why the long face? Did they bully you outside? She answered simply, no. Xing Hongchuan looked guilty, her eyes were wet, and her voice trembled. I'm sorry, husband. It's too chaotic outside, and I couldn't find any treasure to bring back for you. Han Jue held her bruised hand and comforted her. It's fine, gifts don't matter. He pulled Xing Hongchuan closer and whispered, as long as you're safe, nothing else matters. Are your wounds okay? She pressed her lips together and softly said it was fine. Xing Hongchuan turned her face away, a bit embarrassed, and said, Husband, you still need to be more careful outside. Recently, there's a demon called Qingmeng, who is using the excuse of hunting traders to massacre human cultivators going out for training are all terrified. She looked at him with concern. Husband, do you think he will come to Diane? I heard he killed the enlightened elder, and the Wuxiang sect tried to encircle him but came back empty-handed. MANHWA lowered his head slightly, his face darkened, and he didn't speak. Then he walked over and hugged Xinghongchuan. Look, if he comes to Yuqing sect. MANHWA's eyes were filled with tenderness. If I can't defeat him, I will take you and run. Upon hearing this, a flash of affection appeared in her eyes. Just take me with you? Does that mean? A voice came from outside the mountain. Does this mean I've already entered your heart, husband? He answered confidently. It's been that way for a long time. Xinghongchuan, surrounded by love, happily said, then I'm relieved. MANHWA, standing beside her, asked in confusion, what are you relieved about? She asked joyfully, am I the only woman in your life? He joyfully replied, of course. Xinghongchuan walked closer and asked, really? MANHWA helplessly answered, what else could it be? She continued, when I came back, I found that recently. He looked a bit puzzled. But Xinghongchuan said, there's a cave dwelling more luxurious than my elegant residence, whose is it? Upon hearing this, MANHWA's face turned pale, and sweat poured down. He didn't dare to turn around. It's Shi Chuan Xianzi. I invited her here to facilitate her cultivation. Upon hearing this, her face was full of displeasure and anger. Does husband care about her a lot? MANHWA fearfully said, after all, he was once my master. Xinghongchuan gritted her teeth and asked, just the bond between master and disciple? He didn't answer, and she insisted, ask yourself. At this point, his face was so dark it was unrecognizable. In the main hall of Yuqing sect, the sect master of Wuchang sect, Li, is arrogant and has been defeated by Qingmeng, and even the demon lord hasn't shown up. It's unbelievable. Yuqing sect is your last hope. Everyone in the hall nervously nodded in agreement. Yes, sect master Li. If we win, merging with our sect is also possible. Everyone was discussing, even if our sects combine, we might not be able to defeat Qingmeng. Yuqing sect still has a small chance. Seeing everyone discussing, Li Changzi stood up to calm them down. Everyone, don't be hasty. I've sent core disciples to explore the continents, and the vast domains require a lot of time. He continued, moreover, according to the information, they are heading to Gaiwanzu. Zirenzu is stronger than Dian and has delayed them for a while. Upon hearing this, everyone felt somewhat reassured. That's good, Zirenzu isn't weak. Old Law suddenly spoke. Their combined powerhouses are spread across the entire continent. As long as they don't encounter a stronger figure like in the Dujia realm, Qingmeng will definitely rage and swallow Jiuquan. A few elders angrily glared at him and shouted, Old Law, shut up. With a mouth that big, did your head fall off? Seeing everyone glaring, Old Law became somewhat scared. At this point, Li Changzi spoke with a pale face. Jiu Wang sect from Zaiwanzu has sent news. Qingmeng's cultivation is already at the peak of the 9th layer of the Hedi realm, and he plans to use Gaiwanzu as his tribulation site. He could break through at any time. Hearing this, the elders angrily shouted at Old Law. Meanwhile, Xinghongchuan continued questioning MANHWA. Is it just the bond between master and disciple? He still had a fearful expression, unsure of how to answer. Suddenly, MANHWA stretched his hand out to her, the men in this world. Then he pretended to be philosophical and said, having 3 wives and 4 concubines is normal. Look at the elders, who doesn't have a few partners? MANHWA continued, so you need to understand, in the future, I will have other partners. Hearing this, Xinghongchuan was shocked. But he still didn't forget to comfort her. However, if I had to choose who to marry first, I would still choose you. Looking at MANHWA's expression, Xinghongchuan covered her mouth and sighed in relief. Seeing you scared like this, I don't mind 3 wives. And 4 concubines. When you're in seclusion, I'll still have friends. Upon hearing this, he was horrified and quickly turned around. She couldn't help but excitedly rush toward him. So when will the little sisters come? I can't wait, I want to get close to them. Then Xinghongchuan also hugged him and warned, but I want to remind you of one thing, the most important thing, don't promise anything to those little sisters. He helplessly scratched his head in agreement. Outside, the black-eyed chicken and Zhu and Chang'an were eavesdropping with their ears pressed against the stone wall, showing a look of contempt. It's still better to be a cultivator. He echoed, if they were ordinary people, this would be a tragic battlefield. Soon, the two were blown away by the forbidden words from Han Jue and Xing Hongchuan's room. She said eagerly, come on, this time, let's be a little rougher. After hearing this, the black-eyed chicken and Zhu and Chang'an outside showed sly smiles. Suddenly, he shouted, ultimate skill divine sword. The two people were startled. Soon after, a force blasted the stone wall. He and the other person ran in fear. From the crack, Han Jue angrily shouted, are you dreaming? Xing Hongchuan blushed and struck an alluring pose, looking at him, husband, I'm going out for a walk. Keep up the good work on your cultivation. Then she leaned in and kissed him, while he looked worn out, as though a demon had drained all his energy. Han Jue sat down to cultivate, his body like a skeleton with no vitality. This Qingmeng is ferocious. I need to break through to the 8th layer of the combined body stage as soon as possible. While cultivating, he suddenly heard someone speaking intermittently, Master, don't go. He turned around in fear, what sound? Who else is here besides me? The voice continued, Master. Han Jue took his sword and went outside to investigate. The voice seemed to be coming from the pond. Outside, some growing earth and sky grass saw him come out and their eyes lit up as they shouted, Master. Then Han Jue pointed his sword at the flower pot and loudly shouted, where did this demon come from? Seeing the sword nearly touch it, the earth and sky grass screamed in fear. He looked down from above, his face full of intimidating anger as he shouted, how can you speak? The little girl stammered in panic, I don't know. The earth and sky grass, full of fear, still said, I think I've been like this for a long time. Many memories are starting to come back. Han Jue was a little surprised. These memories aren't disguised by immortal gods, are they? The little girl thought for a moment. No, I once had a master. I remember she sat beside me for a long time. He looked confused. Was it an immortal god sitting beside you for 100 years of cultivation, becoming transcendent under the influence of immortal energy? Seeing Han Jue sit down, the earth and sky grass hurriedly said, since I became aware, I thought she talked a lot. Luckily, she's gone now. He thought, it's not that she talks a lot, she's giving teachings. You really are blessed, but don't understand how to appreciate it. The little girl quickly said, wait, the later memories. I died many times, eaten, burned, drowned, but came back to life every time. Han Jue stared at her. Copper fire cannot burn it out, the spring wind blows in it. Grows again. The system had once mentioned that earth and sky grass could live for 10,000 years. He brought the flower pot into the cave, and the little girl, still worried that he didn't believe her, repeatedly said, many memories seem to have persisted for tens of thousands of years. You won't not believe me, will you? He replied, I believe. Long live the soul. Ah, no, the wild grass wasn't eaten by beasts, and its roots didn't break. You've really worked hard. The earth and sky grass was a bit afraid, but I'm nearly 100,000 years old. I remember there's a saying in the mortal realm, living that long must mean a great tribulation is coming. They say it's a death sentence with no rebirth. Hearing this, Han Jue couldn't hide his shock. 100,000 years of life and death tribulation. Is this the rhythm for transformation? He broke out in a cold sweat, thinking of forbidden techniques. The little girl looked at him with concern. You're my second master, you won't abandon me, will you? Before he could answer, the earth and sky grass lowered her head sadly and said, but the life and death tribulation is near. I'm afraid it will drag you down. Han Jue interrupted, saying it won't. He spoke gently to the little girl, don't worry, there will be a way. I'll give you a complete life. From now on, I will carry you with me. Hearing this, the little girl's face was full of joy. Master is so good. The system reminded, the earth and sky grass has developed a fondness for you, current affection level, 5 stars. Han Jue felt uneasy. Why does this feel a little wrong? At this moment, Xian Shishir, Mark Revenge, and Zhou Fan had arrived at Wuxiang sect. Looking at the scene in front of them, the three couldn't help but be surprised. Mark Revenge said, even though Wuxiang sect is so strong, it can't escape the fate of being destroyed. How did the Qingmeng's demon soldiers become so powerful? Mark Revenge asked in astonishment. There were many birds flying in the sky behind the mountain. Seeing this scene, Xian Shishir was also in deep thought. In the past, the demon race was suppressed by the human race for too long. Now, with the appearance of the Qingmeng Great Saint, some demons will definitely come to worship him. Zhou Fan stood beside them, showing an unhappy expression. Mark Revenge stood aside, arms crossed. From Dian to here, all of them are Qingmeng's demon soldiers. It seems like all the demons in the world have come to join him. Looking at the group of demons forming a circle, seemingly protecting Qingmeng, he asked, Lord Xian, do you think they're trying to guard him? She thought for a moment, it's because Qingmeng is about to undergo tribulation. If he succeeds, he will become the only tribulation-crossing powerhouse among the demons, so it's natural for them to come and join him. Xian Shishir looked up and continued, once you reach the tribulation-crossing realm, you can ascend to the level of a supreme powerhouse. The human race's tribulation crossers have probably already left, let alone suppressing others. Zhou Fan asked in confusion, if crossing tribulation means ascension, then why is there still the great ascension? She replied, it's not easy for ordinary demons to reach the void integration realm. Thinking back, Xian Shishir continued, reaching the combined body realm is a life and death struggle. To break through the next realm, one must fight with everything they have. Fortunately, if they survive the thunder tribulation, they can no longer improve. Reaching this realm doesn't bring many benefits, so most strong cultivators choose to ascend directly. There are also some prodigies who, even after successfully crossing tribulation, continue to cultivate in the mortal realm. Zhou Fan and Mark Revenge said together, huh? Is that even possible? She fell into deep thought, just like senior sister, who kept advancing after breaking through to the Great Ascension realm. Unlike me, I'm just one step away from the tribulation crossing realm, but I keep hesitating and delaying, as if it's a bottomless pit. Zhou Fan said with determination, I, Zhou Fan, also want to be a great ascension who doesn't ascend. He stood aside, watching, let's defeat that rooster first. Xian Shishir cast a spell and said to the two, let's go. I'll take you to the overseas territories, they are relatively safe. Qingmeng is ambitious, and the humans in the sea region will likely face the extinction of their sect. Seeing Xian Shishir fly high, he asked, what about Yuling sect? Will it be fine? She simply looked back but remained silent. Zhou Fan walked to Mark Revenge's side, Brother Han will take good care of Sister Mark. The news about Qingmeng has already been reported to the sect leader before it spreads. The situation is set, and we can't even protect ourselves. As soon as the order to part was given, the three quickly disappeared. 7 years later, Hanju was cultivating. He slowly opened his eyes and suddenly startled. Why is there smoke in the cave? No, this is spiritual energy. Then he walked out of the cave door and looked outside, asking the earth and sky grass, why is there so much mist? Did the spiritual energy go berserk? The earth and sky grass happily said, Master, you're awake. He asked in confusion, did you do all of this? She cheerfully replied, yes, Master, do you like it? He was deep in thought, this concentration is too strong. Indeed, she is a person with extraordinary talent, having spiritual intelligence since birth, and can even push the spiritual energy. If she could unblock the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, perhaps I could teach her some techniques? But two voices appeared in his mind, one from an angel and the other from a demon. The angel said, teach her, she might become a powerful force in the future. The demon responded, what if she betrays you? Who knows what methods that angel has? Hanju was thinking while praising, to prevent any risks, let's leave a mark first, it's a good idea, more in the future. Seeing him happy, the little girl also happily agreed. He continued, I'm thinking, what should I reward you with? The earthly grass looked up expectantly, wondering. He turned around and rummaged through the box behind him, muttering to himself, the Qilin sword is too big, the heartless flying Sword, the heaven and earth Xin Huang, these are my trump cards. The grass self-sword technique, should I use the power of heaven to open a path for her? Or this, one I've never practiced before? Seeing this, the little girl was full of confusion. Then he held up the Jade Clarity Manual, a brand new, unopened book. After the supplement from the 9. Ding Master, it could be cultivated to the void realm, and he planned to have her study it for a while. He seriously handed the book to her. From today, you will study this book here. No laziness allowed. The earthly grass opened the book but couldn't understand anything, filled with worry. Hanju slapped the book onto the table. To cultivate initiative, I must set a good example. He sat next to her, reading seriously, striving to improve. The little girl held the book, feeling dizzy from all the information. The power released from the book in his hands instantly filled the entire cave. Outside, the sky was filled with thunder and lightning, with a deafening roar. It turned out that the thunder tribulation was attacking, and the heavenly tyrant was full of arrogance. What can white thunder do to me? Today, I will definitely succeed in overcoming the tribulation. He faced the thunder tribulation without fear. Suddenly, he felt something. Wait. Is an external force invading? That force rushed toward his thunder tribulation, causing him to scream in pain. No, no. The heavenly tribulation is advancing. Why is there that damned force? He was pierced through his entire body by that terrifying force. The force was so great that it sent him flying, crashing hard onto the ground with a loud bang. The heavenly tyrant was battered and bruised, falling freely. He angrily cursed, "Damn little villain. Who is it?" His mouth also flickered with the light of his staff. He was rapidly falling, crashing into the sea, creating huge waves. He raised the staff in his hand, releasing a powerful force. The heavenly tyrant stood on the water, raising his staff and releasing a terrifying force toward the sky. At this point, there was no trace of calm on his face. I still have to use the treasure left by my master. At that moment, the heavenly tyrant great sage tightly gripped his magical artifact. The heavenly tyrant great sage used the power of his magical artifact to resist the thunder tribulation from the sky. While speaking, he stretched out his hand to summon the magic array. Today, I will use the power of the artifact and the thunder tribulation to deduce who the hell is causing trouble. After saying this, the heavenly tyrant great sage raised his hand towards the sky. He controlled the magic array to move towards the target, and the summoned magic array quickly advanced, surrounded by thousands of red lightning bolts. Unfortunately, the magic array attacked him instead. This made him furious. Damn rat. The heavenly tyrant was in a fit of rage. Why can't I deduce it? Once I overcome this tribulation, I will definitely find you. He angrily summoned the thunder tribulation to strike. Thunder tribulation. Break for me. Tens of thousands of lightning bolts descended from the sky, and the water below turned into a whirlwind. Thousands of lightning bolts and the thunder tribulation struck the heavenly tyrant great sage simultaneously. After fighting the thunder tribulation for a while, the heavenly tyrant's strength seemed to increase several times. Eventually, the heavenly tyrant successfully passed through the tribulation realm, becoming a true demon sage from that point on. The heavenly tyrant great sage said with anger, "Damn rat, I will make you experience the most painful torment in the world, and you will never be able to reincarnate." The heavenly tyrant raised his hand and said loudly, "Send orders to all the demon kings, let them attack with all their might, regardless of the cost." 6 years later, the demon race swiftly defeated the resisting human cultivators. They slaughtered cities and devoured the people. At this moment, a strange light emerged from the side of Hanju's cave. Outside, the black-eyed chicken was meditating and cultivating. "Please do not disturb me." Zun Chang'an looked towards the cave entrance. Has master broken through again? He then sighed. It's been a while since Morong Chi left. I wonder if master would allow me to go down the mountain to visit him? As soon as he finished speaking, Hanju appeared behind him. Don't go, he's not in the sect. With your current situation, be careful of being eaten by monsters. But Zun Chang'an still intended to go. By this time, Hanju's cultivation had reached the 8th level of the combined body realm. I've calculated, he's fine now. And even if trouble arises later, Morongchi has extraordinary luck and will surely turn the danger into safety. Suddenly, a notification from his social circle popped up, and Hanju wondered, what's been going on outside lately? Recently, Zun Chang'an had heard his disciples discussing when they went to pay respects, the heavenly tyrant great sage is very likely to become a disaster for the world. He was worried that his disciples might run into trouble. Hanju also felt the deep bond between master and disciple inside. Your physical body is a treasure to a demon sage. Don't let it be that you can't find him, but end up being captured first. If that happens, I won't be able to save you. While Hanju was still talking, the black-eyed chicken remained calmly asleep. It was still talking in its sleep. This ginseng smells really good. At this moment, the black-eyed chicken slowly woke up from its dream. It suddenly shouted, wait a minute. Master Gooden hasn't returned for so long, could he have already died outside? Hanju calmly answered, he's not dead, but he gets beaten every day. After hearing this, the black-eyed chicken panicked, can master figure it out? The black-eyed chicken was relieved that it hadn't gone out, then whispered softly, if it's the Qingmeng great sage coming, we should just escape with our treasures. Suddenly, Li Qingzi rushed in to report, Elder Han. At that moment, all three had the same thought, nothing good ever happens when the leader arrives. Hanju showed a puzzled expression, did Qingmeng come to kill? Li Qingzi hurriedly explained, not yet, but ancient Yuanzhou is about to collapse. The Qingmeng great sages' army has already crossed thousands of mountains and rivers, battling hard from Yuanzhou and Zairenzu. Li Qingzi said fearfully, it will soon reach Dian. He heard this news from a disciple of the morning Sun sect. He also heard that Qingmeng great sage has already broken through to the tribulation realm. Li Qingzi continued, there are over 100 demon kings in the combined body realm of the void realm. Before he could finish, Hanju interrupted, are you trying to kill me with all this? Just say it directly. Hanju looked at Li Qingzi with his red eyes, then why hasn't the human race's cultivation world sent any united messages? Didn't we agree that the fate of humanity is one whole? Li Qingzi stammered, unable to say anything. Li Qingzi frowned because there were no great cultivators in the 10 continents and 9 provinces capable of passing the tribulation realm, so no one could take charge. After listening, Hanju's expression became serious. It's impossible, not even one person? 2 years ago, there were rumors that a great cultivator from ancient Yuanzhou had appeared in the tribulation realm, but unfortunately, as soon as he showed up, he was beaten half to death by the Qingmeng great sage. Now, all the states were afraid when they heard the news, and many sects were forced to relocate. Li Qingzi explained. The Qingmeng great sage is the first demon sage in demon history. Whether in strength or physique, the demons are stronger than humans. But the human race suppresses the demons with their numerical advantage in cultivators. If the demons produce a tribulation realm cultivator, it means human attacks would be useless. Looking at the current situation, only a Mahayana realm expert can suppress the Qingmeng great sage. Upon hearing this, both the black-eyed chicken and Zun Chang'an broke into a cold sweat. Li Qingzi asked Hanju, do we have a chance this time? If not, Yuling's sect is preparing to flee overseas. The two of them were shocked and asked, relying on the ancestors overseas? After thinking for a while, Hanju decided to speak, no need. Hanju said loudly, tell all the outer sect disciples to come back, we're not running this time. Hearing Hanju's words, the three of them were shocked. What? Are you going to fight it? Zun Chang'an suddenly shouted, Master, are you serious? Are we all staying here? Li Qingzi seemed a little scared. Resisting the Qingmeng great sage's army? Are you kidding? It's better to go overseas and rely on the ancestors. Hanju said dismissively, he's been beaten recently, can we still rely on him? Li Qingzi didn't understand how Hanju knew. He frowned, can I think about it? Besides, can we really avoid the Qingmeng great sage's demon army on the way to the overseas? The system popped up a notification giving Hanju 2 choices. It had been a long time since he had seen such a system message. Hanju thought, the Spirit Stone Tao is really interesting. Li Chanzi's voice trembled, all the forces of Dian around are still fighting fiercely with the demon army. No matter where they go, they encounter the demon army. Even if the demon race is not part of the Tian Mang Great Sage, they will still intervene and attack their people. Basically, there is no safe place. The black-eyed chicken was a bit angry at this moment. Are you kidding us? Are we running in this situation? Zun Chang'an also persuaded Li Chanzi to stay. Li Chanzi agreed. In any case, gather the disciples back, stay in the sect and do not go outside. Disciples outside who are cultivating must hurry back. Han Ju did not want to have disciples outside rescuing others when the Tian Mang Great Sage's army is at the door. Li Chanzi followed the order to act, but he still didn't believe Han Ju could be confident. Han Ju advised Li Chanzi not to leak his decision to stay behind. The other sects in the cultivation world can only pray for themselves, as long as Yuling sect is safe. Even if the world is destroyed, Han Ju wouldn't care. Once he has the title of the savior, there would be no trouble later. Han Ju thought to himself, the cultivators in this world are not just those on the outside. The Tian Mang Great Sage is only a tribulation realm cultivator, and it is impossible to slaughter all of humanity. Suddenly, the system prompted, you have rejected the sect master's order and chosen to stay, earning a spirit stone. Heavenly Tao. Han Ju sighed inwardly, items that can interact with the heavenly Tao must be extraordinary. Han Ju held a spirit stone shaped like a brick, emitting a mysterious glow. The black-eyed chicken and Zun Chang'an observed from afar, hoping Han Ju wouldn't use the brick-like spirit stone against the Tian Mang Great Sage. The system introduced the spirit stone heavenly treasure. After hearing it, Han Ju secretly liked it. This thing can elevate a magical treasure by a rank, not bad. Han Ju pondered as he looked at the spirit stone, what should I use it to merge with? I cursed hard earlier. Yet the Tian Mang Great Sage still broke through smoothly. The curse book probably doesn't work on him. If I can raise a realm, maybe I can curse the Tian Mang Great Sage to death, but it might not save him. Let's not talk about the power or whether the Tian Mang is affected by treasures, that hasn't been ruled out. Also, he could attack Yuling sect at any time. Han Ju raised the spirit stone and shouted loudly, Hongmeng Judgment Sword merge. Han Ju thought it would be better to enhance his offensive power first before killing Tian Mang. Suddenly, the system issued a warning, Hongmeng Judgment Sword cannot be upgraded through the Spirit Stone Heavenly Tao, please replace with another magical treasure. Han Ju panicked, it can't bear the power of the Heavenly Tao? Earlier, Han Ju couldn't use his divine sense to check, perhaps the power of the Heavenly Tao makes any item that comes into contact with it extraordinary. Thus, the Hongmeng Judgment Sword is a semi-completed treasure, and he still didn't know its ultimate limit. Zun Chang'an stood aside observing Han Ju's actions. Finally, the master realizes this brick can't solve the problem. Han Ju thought to himself, the great battle is about to begin, I need to comprehend more of the Sword Tao. I wonder if the person in the Sword Tao River is still waiting for me. Outside Dian, the Tian Mang Great Sage's army and the human cultivators were still locked in intense battle. During the fierce battle, they suddenly discovered something. At this moment, a purple light suddenly appeared in the sky. This is the Wan Tian Ancient Sword Tao. Han Ju, within the Sword Tao, didn't know how far he could go today. Han Ju prepared to take a step quickly. Before he could take a step, an elder blocked him. How is it you? Han Ju requested the senior to give him one more chance to take a step forward. The senior angrily said, you have already comprehended the Tai Divine Tao and Sword Intent, who in the world can you not defeat? The senior continued, unless the gap in cultivation between you and your opponent is too great. Han Ju raised his hand, scratched his head, and smiled bitterly, Junior has indeed encountered an opponent beyond my realm. Han Ju originally planned to ascend and visit the senior to thank him, but now he might die on the path of cultivation. After hearing this, the senior also felt some pity. The senior agreed to let him continue forward. This is your choice, don't blame me for not warning you about the consequences. Han Ju looked ahead, I can only fight a final battle and see if I can comprehend the power of the three purities emergence. Hanju thought, if I go a little further, I might become more stable. He decisively lifted his foot and took a step forward. As soon as his foot landed, his whole body felt like it weighed 1,000 times more. Hanju walked with difficulty. Is this the power beyond Tai? Now, Hanju felt like 100 black-eyed chickens were pressing down on him, unable to move or stop because there was no way back. The senior still stood at a distance, observing every step Hanju took. Even though he had taken 3 steps, if he kept going, he feared he would die right here. Just 3 steps, the difference in realms was so vast. No wonder the senior didn't let Hanju continue last time. But Hanju remained resolute. I won't give up, just 1 more step, I'm so close. Seeing him still wanting to continue, the senior flew over to stop him. The senior pushed Hanju forward. All right, kid. If you do this again next time, I won't save you. The senior then said, kid, you haven't even reached the tribulation realm yet you already have such comprehension. It's truly rare. I'm looking forward to your future achievements. At this moment, Hanju's consciousness gradually returned to reality. Tong Chang'an and the black-eyed chicken were still focused on observing Hanju. Master hasn't moved for so long, could it be that he has no confidence? Just then, a loud crash suddenly sounded, and the black-eyed chicken and Tong Chang'an fled in all directions. A very intense light emitted from the white smoke. It made both of them feel terrified. Even the celestial herbs inside sensed something unusual. In just a moment, an extremely terrifying aura emerged. Hanju stepped out of the smoke. Your sword Dao divine ability. The 3 purities emergence has reached the next level. The celestial herb also exclaimed in surprise, exactly the same as the previous master. In the simulation trial field, Hanju and Xian Shishir were already prepared to face this battle. He calmly gathered his spiritual energy at his fingertips and began to strike first, the first move being the emergence of the 3 purities. Hanju waved his hand, and thousands of spiritual energy vortices appeared around him. The spiritual energy tumbled and entangled, flying continuously toward Xian Shishir. It seemed that Hanju's speed of attack was too fast, and Xian Shishir had not yet reacted, standing still and taking the blows. When the spiritual energy vortices made contact with the target, they exploded, creating a situation of complete annihilation of both body and mind. When the battle ended, the simulated scene gradually disappeared. The system notified that the duration of the battle was 2 seconds. Hanju was very satisfied with the result. It was a one-hit kill again, but this time it was noticeably faster. His gaze turned to the book, and he thought, not bad, just 1 step away. If Qing Meng the great saint had 1 more ally, he could probably secure his life. If not, I'll wait for him to come to Yuling sect. Someone was heading toward Yuling sect, only 2 miles left to the destination. In the quiet forest, a voice sounded, fortunately, there's that teleportation array, or I wouldn't have made it to this battle. Weary and dragging his steps, Yang Tiandong panted while complaining, but the dog can't walk with me. He was extremely worried, how am I going to explain this to Master? The demonic soul of Qing Meng had caught up, keep running, you. No matter where you go, this saint will catch you. Tiandong felt extremely frustrated, as the black mist soul fragment, like a high dog, could not be shaken off. Behind him, the demonic black mist kept reminding, I will rip your tendons out and make you experience what true despair is. After finishing the final threat, the black mist soul fragment disappeared. I can't keep being chased like this. Tiandong thought, should I go back and check? He recalled how he and his brothers had teamed up to defeat Qing Meng, but Zhu Nanshan hadn't written down all the crimes, and the waters of the East Sea couldn't cleanse the stench. 300 demon kings had gathered to resist Qing Meng. We once held a banquet, looking forward to the bright future after our success, sharing wealth and dividing territories. But reality was so cruel, all the demon kings were wiped out. Despite seeing everyone fall, Yang Tiandong's heart ached like a knife, but he could only grit his teeth and escape to save his life. We were so naive. The past still filled him with anger. I worked so hard for so many years, only for it to turn out so ridiculous. Thinking about all the demon kings being dead, a surge of fear filled his heart, and he stammered, if I go back now, Master and the others, won't they He finally decided to turn around and leave. I can't bring disaster back to Master. I have no face to see Elder Jiangdong again. Suddenly, Hanju's familiar voice came. We're already at the door. Aren't you going back? Hearing his master's voice, Yang Tiandong immediately felt guilty. Do you still want to enjoy food, drink, and fun, and die? Do you want to be Qing Meng the Great Saint's son, you criminal? Tiandong immediately perked up his ears to locate the source of the voice. Having come this far, he could only kneel on the ground and beg for mercy. Young Tiandong knelt down, truly repenting. Disciple knows my wrongs. Thinking back to before leaving the sect, Tiandong had said, hard cultivation doesn't seem suitable for me, and hemorrhoids have already shown up. I want to go out and train. I shouldn't get a slipped disc. Hanju seriously asked, have you thought it through? Compared to the mutual deceit outside, hemorrhoids are a small issue. Recalling the advice back then, now Yang Tiandong regretted it. I should have listened to Master's teachings. The outside world is too terrifying. Watching him sob, Hanju patted him. Stop crying, kneel at the foot of the mountain for 5 years. And say I was wrong 1,000 times every day. Were these comforting words meant to put him at ease? All the scenes around Tiandong were captured by an eagle-eyed gaze. They were discussing, the steel of Yuling sect in Dian is written like this, we should report back to the great saint. Suddenly, a light flashed in the distance, catching the attention of the eagle-eyed observer. But before they could see clearly, their bodies had already turned into 1,000 pieces. The system displayed that 2 bird demons had entered the range of Yuling sect. This indicated that Qing Meng's bird demons had arrived at Yuling sect. So Hanju personally sent them off. He pondered, then Qing Meng's army has reached Dian. I must make some preparations for the battle. At this moment, Black-Eyed Chicken and Zun Chang'an were leisurely humming a song while fishing, hoping they wouldn't return empty-handed today. In the distance, Morong Chi flew in on a sword. Master. The sect urgently called me back. What happened? The fat chicken and Chang'an didn't seem to notice Morong Chi but appeared to sense something. Already back? Truly the legendary senior brother. Black-Eyed Chicken complained, just arrived and already ran off. Morong Chi also curiously peeked over, and that's when Chang'an noticed him. Cheer. You're here. It turned out that in front of the steel of hard cultivation to become an immortal, Tiandong was continuously kowtowing and crying, shouting, Master. Disciple knows my wrongs. He was very obedient, continuing to kneel and rise, kneeling again. Morong Chi wondered, what mistake did this junior brother make, that he's being punished to kneel here? Before he finished speaking, Zun Chang'an covered his mouth, be careful. He's your granduncle. Duan Chi couldn't believe it and shouted loudly, but Master Uncle just reached the early stage of the Yuan Ing. Chun Chang hurriedly stopped him, be careful with what you say. The black prison chicken also began to show its gossipy nature, I want to know too. Then it directly walked up to Yang Tiandong. The black prison chicken greeted, long time no see, how's the outside world? Did you meet Dog De? Tiandong suddenly felt the atmosphere turn too serious. But he immediately recognized, Xiao Hei, is that you? Tiandong blurted out, how did you get so fat? These words were like a thunderbolt, leaving the black prison chicken stunned. As a result, it immediately grabbed Yang Tiandong and used him as bait for fishing. No matter how much he screamed, it was futile. Yang Tiandong opened his mouth wide, unable to believe it. Junior brother, are you close to the Yuaning stage? He was very surprised. He hasn't been cultivating outside, just been doing hard cultivation with Master. How did he reach this level? Chun Chang said, some people become gods through hard cultivation and then reach the Yuaning stage. Hearing this, Tiandong thought to himself, what's the point of cultivating outside for years? My strength hasn't grown. I've forgotten what Master taught, I've really become a burden to everyone, it's an embarrassment to the sect. To comfort himself, Yang Tiandong started bragging, it's not that there's no gain from outside cultivation. Dog Air is already in the Huashan realm. He will come back to challenge you in the future. The black prison chicken hummed but its expression showed, do you think I believe you? But this fool, Tiandong, actually believed it and happily said, Xiao Hei, don't worry, dog air will go easy on you. Duan Qi and Chun Chang both helplessly decided not to tell Tiandong the truth. As long as he was happy. Han Ju observed the entire situation from a distance. He didn't understand why a Yuan Ying and a Huashan would dare to plan to kill the great Saint Qing Meng. Now Han Ju finally understood why he had chased them here. He sympathized with Qing Meng. If two powerful demons like you were to rebel, I wouldn't be able to stand it either. Suddenly, Li Qianzi rushed over in a hurry, Elder Han. Something bad has happened. Han Ju immediately guessed, Qing Meng's demon army has arrived? Qianzi confirmed, yes. His demon army has broken into Dian, and his target is Yang Tiandong. He anxiously said, Tiandong is the sect's top disciple whom I recommended. Elder Han, he was able to establish friendly relations with Demon King Dian Su, all thanks to Tiandong. If we expel him from the sect now, it will break the hearts of the people. Han Ju calmly responded, let them come. Have you sent the sect's disciples to the 10,000 demon realm? Qianzi replied, all disciples below the Yuan Ying stage have already hidden. The secret communications and teleportation gates can't be used. We can only enter Yuling's sect through the front gate. There's no way out now. To escape overseas, we'll have to use the space transmission of the 10,000 demon realm. But it's not very stable. If we're not careful, we might be torn apart by time and space. It should only be used as a last resort. Other people are being slaughtered by the demon army, but I think everyone would be willing to try it. Han Ju still calmly said, coincidentally, Sect Master, I have also prepared for the worst. Qianzi was stunned for a moment after hearing this. Han Ju said seriously, I've prepared for the worst case scenario. Luckily, you've left a way out. As long as the mountain still stands, what's there to fear if we don't have firewood? Li Qianzi's expression also became heavy. If we lose, can we ensure a safe retreat? Han Ju gave a number, 70% chance. Qianzi took out a jade tablet. Only with this jade tablet can we teleport quickly to the disciples' assembly point. Before the demon army arrives, I still have time to retreat. Han Ju took it and Li Qianzi instructed, the primordial spirits of the 300 elders are inside. Our fate depends on you. You answered firmly, if I can't win, I will flee with everyone, but if Qing Meng escapes, there will be endless consequences. At this point, Li Qianzi had no choice but to rely entirely on you. Please, Elder Han. In the northern mountain range is the territory of the Dian clan's demon king. The weather there is windy year-round, and Qing Meng has already advanced there. Even the Dian clan fell before him. Qing Meng coldly asked, do you yield? But even though the Dian clan was already riddled with wounds, they still refused to admit defeat. What emperor? It's nothing. Seeing that the Dian clan still persisted, Qing Meng prepared to continue the attack. The Dian clan fell at his feet, like a criminal awaiting execution. Before making a move, Qing Meng asked, any last words? The sound of the wife's crying came from beside the Dian clan. The last words of Dian clan were, Ahua, Xiao Cui is really beautiful. Qing Meng began to twist his body, raising his hand high, preparing for the final strike. This strike caused an explosion that shook the entire sky. But strangely, the Dian clan suffered no harm. Instead, Qing Meng began to tremble. He shouted, the flash at my waist has appeared again. This damn bastard actually dared to curse me. The people around him were shocked. Dian clan secretly laughed, a curse? It seems this guy is also targeted by the mountain god. Suddenly, he changed his mind, lowered his head, for he wouldn't survive much longer. I am willing to submit to you. Although Qing Meng was puzzled, he still let go of the Dian clan's subordinates. He took out something and handed it to Dian clan, asking. It was a portrait of Yang Tiandong. He asked Dian clan, have you seen this half-human, half-demon guy? As soon as he saw it, Dian clan immediately recognized it. Isn't this my adopted son, Yang Tiandong? Did this brat offend you? Qing Meng slowly asked in a terrifying tone, adopted son? Suddenly, someone whispered, no. husband. Upon hearing the words adopted son, he exploded with a powerful force. Dian clan was struck, his primordial spirit collapsing. Great Sage Qing Meng, what do you want? I have already agreed to submit. Yang Tiandong offended you, but I did not instruct him. Qing Meng angrily said, he also called me his adoptive father and even organized a rebellion with the demon kings. Upon hearing the word rebellion, Dian clan immediately fell silent. Qing Meng threatened, I won't destroy your primordial spirit, but you and Yang Tiandong will have no further relationship. Once I catch that evil spawn, if you speak again, I will make sure you can't reincarnate. He was furious and roared as thunder and lightning rumbled in the sky, all demon kings, listen up, leave none alive. Great Sage Qing Meng cursed, this bastard actually dared to call other demon kings adoptive fathers. In Yuking sect, Yang Tiandong was still sincerely kowtowing, Master. Disciple knows my mistake. Suddenly, lightning began to strike down from the sky. At the same time, a voice echoed, damn spawn. Tiandong felt that this voice was somewhat familiar. Thousands of demon kings riding dragons appeared in the sky, heading this way. I thought you would escape somewhere else. The owner of this voice was none other than Great Sage Chang Meng, who shouted loudly, I never expected you would run to such a small sect. His eyes flashed with dangerous light, today, I will devour everyone in this small sect. Let's see where you can escape to. Seeing the battle formations filling the sky, Tiandong was terrified, Great Sage Chang Meng is here. The powerful aura and the lightning splitting the sky directly struck toward Chang sect. A loud shout echoed, elders. Quickly take the disciples to each room and activate the sect's protective formation. The disciples screamed in panic, and the demon army, with its demonic aura, approached. Kong Zi stood behind, arms crossed, anxiously observing everything. The intensity of this demonic aura is from Great Sage Chang Meng. Such an unbelievable crossing tribulation realm. Let's hold out as long as possible to buy time for the disciples to escape. Kong Zi turned and asked Xiao, Elder Lu, can you handle Great Sage Chang Meng? Xiao didn't answer, but instead looked at the demonic aura in front of him. He gritted his teeth and muttered, crossing tribulation realm. Bu Mia, seeing the tense situation, became anxious, I can't stand it anymore. He spoke up, where is Elder Zhanshan? What did he say? Kong Zi sighed when he heard this. He spoke vaguely, he said to wait a bit longer. Tiandong ran desperately on the small path, shouting loudly, Master. Out of breath, he stood in front of Hanju, panting. He then reported the situation, Great Sage Chang Meng is here. What should we do? Hanju crossed his arms, glanced at him, and calmly said, it's fine. You and Xiaohei stay here. Later, we'll teleport to the Myriad Demon Realm. The jade pendant will be kept by Mo Rongqi. Di Chao, hearing his words, cried with tears rolling down. She shouted loudly, Master. Don't leave us behind. Hanju smiled at Di Chao and reassured her, don't worry, nothing will happen. Rongqi looked at his master and informed him about Hong Quan's message, Master, Mistress has already arrived at the Myriad Demon Realm. Han Ju, standing on the mountaintop observing everything, felt more at ease after hearing Rongqi's words. Good, now I can let go of my worries. Tiandong looked at him, lost in thought, how is he so calm? Hanju quietly gazed at the intersecting light in the sky, as Great Sage Chang Meng and his group flew in from the distance. Tiandong wondered, has Master become so powerful that he's no longer afraid of Great Sage Chang Meng? Hanju glanced ahead, his eyes revealing an unfathomable light. He thought to himself, isn't it outside 100-mile range? A thunderous shout echoed, activate the protective formation with full force. The protective formation filled the sky, and its light made it almost impossible to open one's eyes. The various monsters quickly surrounded Chang sect. Upon seeing these disciples, they couldn't help but salivate. One monster immediately thought, the aura of the cultivators is delicious, and other monsters began to fight over it. Stop fighting today, I'm starving. Another monster, unsatisfied, complained, too little. Too few people. Not enough for everyone. They brandished weapons, eager to break the formation and conquer Chung sect. The formidable power of the formation made it difficult for them to break through. The aura emitted from the formation prevented them from getting close. Kong Zi raised his hand to command the disciples to counterattack, shouting, "Left wing, right wing, attack. Don't let any fish slip through the net." Sweat kept appearing on his face as Kong Zi gritted his teeth and forced the words out, a bunch of grasshoppers colliding with a cart. Xiao Jiao suddenly noticed an anomaly, and Guan Wugang and the monk also saw something suspicious. A spirit orb with a greenish hue, carrying the consciousness of the green silkworm, flew at an incredible speed. It soon reached the top of Qingtang Mountain, leaving everyone stunned. A confused voice rang out from the sky, "This is..." When the consciousness orb landed on Qingtang Mountain, the mountain's protective formation was shattered, and a vibration echoed through the space. The elders and disciples of the entire Qingtang Mountain were backfired by the true power of the green silkworm, and they spewed large amounts of blood. The disciples of Yuking sect were nearly all knocked away by the shockwave. Some were thrown far away, while others, unfortunately, crashed into the rooftops, feeling immense pain. Fairy Shiquan was also severely injured. She struggled to stand, worrying for all the disciples, to cause such heavy losses on the front line with just consciousness alone. Shiquan squinted her eyes, beginning to think about more distant matters. "We can't leave now. Although our primordial spirits are still with Hanju and there's a chance for rebirth, the premise is that Hanju can escape from the crossing tribulation realm." The green silkworm's consciousness hovered in the air, enveloped by demonic aura. It sneered and shouted, "The strongest is only at the 9th layer of the Dongxi realm." How laughable, the green silkworm's primordial spirit cursed, snorting coldly, "The thief isn't on the front lines, let me see where he can hide." From a distance, he saw a statue carved with the words "Bitter cultivation leads to immortality," and he shouted, "Found it." In his vision, he saw Tiandong standing on the cliff face. He roared like thunder, "Isn't the thief running this time? Still hoping Yuking sect will protect you?" Tiandong broke into a cold sweat, his face pale with fear, constantly thinking, "It's over." Even with the sect leader and the joint effort, they can't block a blow from the green silkworm great sage. How could Master possibly block it? A voice and a sword-wielding hand sounded at the same time, and Tiandong froze. A firm voice rang out, "Everyone, step back." Hanju held the heavenly Tao spirit stone, with the power of the heavenly Tao glowing in golden light. He tightly grasped the heavenly Tao spirit stone, and the tip of his sword pointed at the green silkworm's consciousness. He thought to himself, "The system can't detect him, but his consciousness has found us." The crossing tribulation realm is truly stronger than expected. His eyes not only showed determination but also a trace of killing intent. His heart raced. "I've locked on to the direction of the consciousness, just a bit closer. A little closer." The green silkworm's consciousness locked onto him, secretly assessing Hanju and the people beside him. The spirit treasure around him just broke through to the 9th layer of the foundation establishment. The consciousness noticed someone trembling behind Hanju and smiled, a little chick. The black chicken trembled, sighing inwardly, "Ah. This little chicken isn't bad, cultivation is decent. I could consider accepting him as a disciple." Wait. A divine tree rose from the ground, emitting dazzling golden light. The green silkworm's consciousness shook, and he exclaimed in surprise, "The Fusong divine tree." Through his consciousness, the green silkworm saw everything and was confused. How could such a divine tree be here? "I remember the Master mentioned it, though it only existed in legend with him. This opportunity is rare, the power of the consciousness is immense." The green silkworm's eyes lit up, and he revealed an evil and sinister smile. He thought to himself, "If I can offer this divine tree to my master, if my master is pleased, maybe I can stay there." The green silkworm's consciousness immediately activated its true form. Lightning crackled, and thunder split the sky, surrounding his true form. His eyes gleamed, and his voice echoed like thunder in a clear sky, "This Divine tree, I take it. His true form was enormous, towering over Qingtang Mountain, like a tiny ant. Kong Zi looked up in fear at the massive true form of the green silkworm. He silently prayed, I can only hope Elder Han runs quickly. Suddenly, a terrifying aura appeared in the sky. The power of the heavenly Tao also surrounded Han Ju, who prepared to use the Sanqing formation to deal with the green silkworm's true form. The black chicken trembled but still tightly held onto Chang'an and Rong Qi. Di Chao was also held by Rong Qi. Chang'an helplessly said to the black chicken, Brother Chicken, using us as a shield is useless. In fact, Han Ju was indeed a bit panicked. The system reminded, Green Python Great Sage not detected, a series of alert messages appeared. Han Ju was flustered, sweat constantly appearing on his forehead. His heart felt like ants were burning it, how can it not be detected? Isn't the crossing tribulation realm the system's limit? Suddenly, Kong Zi was struck by an aura, leaving him dumbfounded. The Green Python Great Sage suddenly appeared, and everyone didn't have time to react. His power pressed down directly, and his eyes flashed with green light, looking extremely terrifying. The system once again displayed a warning, system reminder, Green Python Great Sage, 9th layer of Crossing Tribulation Realm, newly appointed Demon Saint of the Demon Clan. Hanju closed his eyes to feel the green python's power approaching and mentally prepared himself, here it comes. Starting simulation trial. Sword Qi surged, carrying the destructive power of the heavenly Tao. All the power was forcefully directed forward by Hanju. The power sent everything flying, with only the massive and heavy Hell Chicken remaining unmoved. Chang'an, Rong Qi, and Tiandong were almost swept away, but fortunately, everyone grabbed the Hell Chicken and narrowly escaped. Panicked screams echoed through the space. Han Ju's gaze was determined and decisive. He felt the time had come. The system displayed, notification, simulation battle has ended. Han Ju's sword Qi wreaked havoc in the space. The classic scene of the killing sword flashed, and Han Ju executed it with great skill. The green python Great Sage saw the red light flashing ahead and was surprised. That kid plans to ambush. The green python immediately performed his ultimate technique, waving his hand to release an imposing aura. He shouted, Jishinjing A. He looked ahead in confusion, but the red light released by Han Ju still hadn't disappeared. The aura, along with the red light, continued to flicker. It penetrated through soil and rock, flying straight toward the green python's position. The sky cleared up. And the sword Qi left marks wherever it passed. It carved a long trajectory, shattering the green python's bones, with only the lower half remaining intact. Ultimately, the green python Great Sage perished here. Fairy Ji Quan was stunned. The people of Yuking sect were no exception. Kong Zi, Bu Mia, Xiao Jiao, and Wu Gang were all shocked, dumbfounded as they witnessed this classic battle. The Hell Chicken, Rong Qi, Chang'an, and Tiandong also couldn't believe that Han Ju was able to defeat the green python Great Sage at the 9th layer of the Crossing Tribulation Realm. Han Ju tightly gripped the heavenly Tao Spirit Stone, and the power of the three Pure Ones aura remained unwavering. His cold face showed a trace of killing intent as he sneered, seeking death. The green python was defeated, its bones shattered, and its demonic aura dissipated. The sky returned to clarity and calm, with white clouds slowly drifting by. The demons were horrified to find the green python Great Sage's demonic aura was gone. They hastily searched around, and one demon noticed that the aura had completely vanished. He shouted, Where did the green python Great Sage's aura go? Another demon, looking at the clear sky, became even more certain that the green python Great Sage was dead, and he screamed in fear, The green python Great Sage is dead. A series of questions and exclamations followed. How could the Great Sage die so quickly? What kind of god was this? Absurd. Upon receiving this bad news, all the Demon Clan demons fled urgently. They had lost their reliance on the green python and could only run for their lives. Screams erupted, Run! This scream served as an order, causing them to flee in panic. Han Ju coldly said, his words carrying a deathly aura. You oppress my sect, harm my clan, and you still want to escape? He waved the heavenly Tao spirit stone, and sword chi, filled with the heavenly Tao's power, swept through, its light blinding. Like an Azura from hell, Hanju growled softly, Demon Clan, you. The sword chi swirled around him. The force of the heavenly Tao rotated, locking the opponent in place, and a beast's scream filled with fear echoed, what's happening? As time passed, the screams became more agonizing. Kong Zi stood observing, seeing that each demon beast had a rotating aura rushing toward its body. They shouted, it's too hot. Help. The long-haired person said in surprise, what's going on? After seeing everything, Kong Zi spoke up, it seems to be locked. Hanju raised the heavenly Tao spirit stone, and the power and force were clearly visible. An aura, carrying strength, rushed directly toward the ground, causing the rocks to vibrate. The intertwined lights were chaotic and disordered. Hanju drew his sword from behind and cursed in his heart, damn it. The whirlpool of sword chi still locked onto the target, attacking both underground and in the air. A demon beast was scorched, and it raised its head to let out a painful scream. Flames and aura scorched the beast's entire body as it was engulfed by the blinding fire. Then, the sky began to stir, with dazzling fireworks that were impossible to follow. They flew into the sky and then exploded beautifully. Shi Quan looked from afar and could see them blooming in the air. Her face was covered in dust from the battle with Qingman. Shi Quan looked up at the fireworks in the sky and sighed, these fireworks are so beautiful. But these were no ordinary fireworks. After the explosion, flesh and blood scattered on the ground. Continuous fireworks exploded in the air, accompanied by the corpses of demon beasts. Dian Jifu stood there, staring blankly as the demon clan's bodies were destroyed. And Qingman's body, he knew, the demon saint was killed with one sword strike in the crossing tribulation realm. Dian Jifu thought, so that immortal has always been in hiding at Yuking sect. He stood there looking at the continuous mountain ranges, breaking out in a cold sweat. No wonder after coming to Yuking sect, the curse disappeared. It seems that the curse Qingman felt was a warning from that immortal. That means this guy stubbornly went on a rampage. In the end, he met with death. Dian Jifu had a wish in his heart, if I get the chance, I hope to meet that old senior. Even if I have to serve as a mount, it's fine. Hanju stood there holding the heavenly Tao spirit stone, looking toward the direction of the sword strike that had caused the devastation. A large pit was carved out of the mountain in front of him, and the victim's end was here. The system prompted, you have killed a crossing tribulation realm existence for the first time and received the heavenly Tao spirit stone. Hanju held the heavenly Tao spirit stone and couldn't help but feel puzzled. The jailbird cheered happily, Master is too powerful. Unbeatable in the world. Chang'an also raised his hand and shouted, woo. At this moment, Dong Qi still couldn't figure out what had happened, stammering, what happened? The jailbird continued cheering, Great Master. Great Master. Great Master. Dong Qi, not understanding what was going on, followed behind. Chang'an walked over to Hanju and said, Master was right, focusing on cultivation is the right path. He turned to Dong Qi and said, Cheer, from now on, you must spend all your time on cultivation to defeat the enemy. Dong Qi excitedly replied, Yes, Master. Tiandong stood behind, observing everyone for a while, and couldn't help but feel puzzled. Qingman the great sage is so strong, I know that well, almost invincible. He then remembered the sight of Qingman's corpse, the existence that brought endless despair to others was actually killed by Master. At this thought, he couldn't help but feel terrified. Tiandong widened his eyes and secretly sighed, so the strongest person has always been by my side, but I was chasing after illusory power, searching the world. Today, I truly have no face-to-face master. Hanju walked past Tiandong, and his words shocked Tiandong, still here? Did you kneel today? Tiandong was drenched in cold sweat. He widened his eyes and looked at him, then stammered, and not yet. Hanju kept walking, leaving a remark, then hurry up and go. You walked briskly, not forgetting to remind Tiandong, from now on, if you dare run out without my consent, will you? Our teacher-student bond is severed, and I will no longer interfere with your life or death. Tiandong, feeling relieved, quickly replied, yes. Master. While cleaning the battlefield, everyone was busy repairing the damaged areas from the battle. Someone shouted, the Elder of Godslaughter is here. Everyone scrambled in a panic, what? Where? Hanju walked to the front, and everyone's gaze focused on him, all praising, Elder of Godslaughter. Forever a god. Elder Han, the glory of humanity. Longevity without limits. Boundless blessings, I am willing to bear children for you. Hanju reminded Kuan-zi, don't let your guard down. I feel that things are not as simple as they appear. The elder understood his hint, and Kuan-zi pointed at an object ahead, then turned and said, is Elder Han referring to this? Both of their gazes locked onto the huge bone joint ahead, and Hanju confirmed, exactly. The previous move couldn't destroy this weapon, it's not simple. Kuan-zi looked at the bone and couldn't help but be surprised. What? What exactly is this? He fell into thought, beginning to meditate. Clearly, this is no ordinary object. No wonder the heavenly snake great saint couldn't be cursed. It turns out this magic treasure is behind it. This is just a small-scale operation. The old man will be here soon. Hanju walked to the bone, placing his hand on its surface and said, let's first confirm if this is an ownerless object. As his hand touched the bone, an aura traveled through it, and he muttered softly, divine awareness enter. After the aura penetrated, it directly entered his divine awareness. Hanju was shocked to find a space inside, and he felt a little confused. But soon, his gaze shifted upward, and he showed surprise as he noticed an aura. On the screen, the image of the heavenly snake great saint appeared, and he was stunned. The split soul is the heavenly snake great saint. Ahead, there were two bright green orbs of light, and the light passing through them allowed one to see outside. The person's eyes were tightly shut but suddenly opened, frowning. His eyes flickered with two red lights. And his deep, inscrutable gaze scanned ahead like a detector. The aura in his eyes rapidly released. On the outside, Hanju was repelled by the heavenly snake great saint's aura and took a few steps back. Hanju shouted, and Kuan-zi anxiously asked, Elder Han, are you all right? He moved his hand off the bone, withdrew his divine awareness, and a trace of worry flashed in his eyes as he thought, as expected, there's someone behind this. Hanju quickly performed the 6 paths soul absorption technique, with golden light and aura shooting into the air. Immediately, the giant bone joint on the ground was shrunk. He breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, I was quick enough. Otherwise, this guy would definitely come after me. For revenge along with the split soul. This oppressive feeling is only something I've seen in the Sword Dao River. Suddenly, the system screen popped up and reminded, system prompt. Hanju quickly turned to look at the system screen and blurted out, what? The screen displayed the heavenly snake great saint's 8-layer scatter immortal realm, with 6 stars of hatred because you killed his demon pet. The split soul is full of resentment, waiting to cause trouble for you after you ascend. Hanju was horrified, 8-layer scatter immortal realm. Hanju held the bone and thought to himself, after I ascend, won't he be able to come down and find me? Hanju carefully stared at the bone, his eyes showing a hint of seriousness. You're lucky, the heavenly realm is powerful but can't come down to the mortal realm. Is this the arrangement? Or is it restricted? He said with some worry, so after ascending, I won't be able to return? Hanju held the bone, looking up at the sky, feeling a little puzzled in his heart. The problem is, after ascending, can I still cultivate peacefully like before? Since I've spent most of my time up there. Casually ascending isn't wise. I'll prolong it if I can. Let's see what you can do to me then. In Qinwu sect of Xiuan continent, the surrounding mountains undulated, and screams echoed in the space. The heavenly snake great saint is dead. He was killed with one sword strike by the Elder of Godslaughter. It seemed hard to believe, and the tone was full of shock. What? The discussions in the main hall about this matter were intense and lively. People kept asking, the heavenly silk great Saint is dead? How is that possible? That's a realm of catastrophe. Others expressed curiosity about the Jade Clear sect. I think I've heard of this sect's name. Some even admired, saying, who exactly is the Elder of Godslaughter? Zhu Jian sighed, well, what a Jade Clear sect. His disciple, Ji Hao, happily shouted with pride, as expected, it is the Elder of Godslaughter. An elder stood up and asked Zhu Jian, Master, you once went to the Great Yan's Jade Clear sect. Is the Jade Clear sect really that powerful? A nearby sword cultivator also questioned, yeah, I heard Ji Hao once sparred with them, but it seems like you've never mentioned this before? Zhu Jian lowered his head, his voice becoming slower as he somewhat shamefully said, to be honest. Zhu Jian looked straight at everyone and candidly admitted, I was defeated by the Elder of Godslaughter with one sword. So I have always been unwilling to mention it. Everyone was astonished. The green-haired Taoist couldn't believe it, saying, what? The elder didn't expect this either, surprised, but you are our sect's strongest combat force. How incredible must they be? Zhu Jin stood in front of everyone and said, now it seems that being defeated by the Elder of Godslaughter is not something to be ashamed of, but rather an honor. A sly glint flashed in his eyes, and he already had plans in mind. After this incident, the Jade Clear sect will become a holy land in the Great Yen cultivation world, and may even become the holy land for the 10 continents 9 dynasties Chen Wu sect. We must immediately go and make friends. Ji Hao respectfully clasped his hands and stepped forward to request, Master. I request orders to immediately go to Great Yen, representing the Chen Wu sect of Zaiwanzu to thank the Jade Clear sect's Zhu Jian. After a moment of thought, he added, furthermore, we must prepare a grand gift. The elder strongly opposed this idea, raising his voice to question, Master, our sect has suffered heavy losses. Now, going to make friends with the Jade Clear sect, how will the disciples view us? Zhu Jian walked up to the elder and said something that left him speechless, wake up. How do you think the Jade Clear sect's act of saving the world will be viewed? If we don't thank them, how will the world see us? The elder didn't know what to say and could only stutter, this matter. He continued, with some displeasure in his eyes, as for personal matters, the Jade Clear sect will definitely become a holy land that all cultivators will look up to. There can be no dissent on this. If we fall behind, we will be slower at every step. The sooner we go, the better. He ordered, make arrangements. After hearing Zhu Jian's explanation, everyone silently agreed with his foresight. People responded. It should be arranged. The green-haired Taoist crossed his arms and closed his eyes, acknowledging Zhu Jian's opinion and saying, makes sense, other sects will probably beat us to it. Once the Jade Clear sect grows strong, some sects will definitely use it to suppress others. A masked person nearby also agreed, indeed. There are many benefits to making friends, we can't miss this opportunity. Outside Chen Wu sect, Zhu Jian's voice echoed in the main hall, does anyone else have any objections? If not, let's go with this decision. All the members of Chen Wu sect responded in unison, understood. At 9 Dragon sect, Wei Yuan stood in front of the broken ruins. It was no longer prosperous and was gradually falling into decay. He stood alone, looking back at his sect. Since encountering the heavenly silk great saint, the sect had already fragmented, with many fleeing. Wei Yuan stood, looking at the ruins, and began speaking to himself, as expected, the senior is indeed a senior, even the heavenly silk great saint is no match. He thought, can we only keep running away? He gazed into the distance. His sect was no longer intact, the buildings and rooms had collapsed and tilted, severely damaged, almost impossible to restore. Earth and stone bricks were scattered on the ground, and even the sect's flag was tattered. The dragon-head stone tablet on the ground reflected the fate of 9 Dragon sect. Wei Yuan looked at the scene before him, his eyes flashing with helplessness and despair, thinking, cultivators are meant for eternal life and cultivation. What is a sect but for inheritance? Running a sect is merely for power. How is it different from worldly gangs? Wei Yuan, lost in thought, was approached by a disciple. Report to the sect master. After counting, in the past, 9 dragon sect had 70,000 people at its peak, but now only 3,000 remain. Over 90% of the buildings are destroyed, and many of the books and magical treasures have been looted. Fortunately, the 9 dragon true art remains undiscovered in the mechanism. Wei Yuan looked up ahead, his tone filled with sadness and emotion, slowly saying, "It's almost like the sect has been eradicated. A century-old foundation has been lost just like that. If this world has no 9 dragon sect, it wouldn't be an exaggeration." The disciple lowered his head and continued, "Sect master need not worry. As long as the secret inheritance remains, 9 dragon sect can rise again." Wei Yuan responded, "We indeed have the foundation, but it's only this little foundation." Wei Yuan expressed his concern, "How many sects are eyeing our secret arts, don't you know that?" The disciple was surprised by this. Wei Yuan asked, "In this situation, what makes you think we can protect the inheritance?" He gently stepped on the ground and, using his aura, flew into the air. Wei Yuan stood in the air, his cloak billowing in the wind, his aura surrounding his feet. Wei Yuan loudly shouted, "All disciples and elders, listen up." The disciples looked up at the sect master, unsure whether he had something to announce or instruct. Wei Yuan's voice echoed throughout the sect, "Everyone should be clear about the current situation. We must protect this place. Now." The disciples were stunned, mouths agape. One of them asked, "What does the sect master mean by this?" He lowered his head, looking at the disciples below. His face was haggard, and his expression was despondent and sorrowful, making the story he was about to tell seem even more serious. Wei Yuan spoke, "The forces around us are watching, and rebuilding the sect will definitely not be easy. Forcing the reconstruction will only increase unnecessary sacrifices. It's better to find a supporting point to develop ourselves than to be devoured by them." His brows furrowed tightly as he struggled to say this decision. A glint of determination flashed in Wei Yuan's eyes. He ordered all the elders and disciples, "Everyone, go to the Jade Clear sect today." Wei Yuan shouted, "Offer the 9 dragon true art as a gift and submit to the Jade Clear sect." This sentence was like a thunderclap. This decision shocked all the disciples. The disciples looked at their sect master, who stood against the light, his figure like a black shadow. After Wei Yuan decided to submit to the Jade Clear sect, the disciples raised many doubts. One disciple angrily said, "Is the sect master crazy?" Another disciple, seeing the sect's treasures about to fall into others' hands, retorted, "That's a secret art that outsiders cannot pass on. How can we give it away as a gift?" Another disciple, seeing submission to the Jade Clear sect as providing others with an opportunity to mock, asked, "Is 9 dragon sect joining the Jade Clear sect just to become the laughingstock of the world?" Wei Yuan had reached a dead end. He didn't want the weakened 9 dragon sect to be targeted by others and become the fat meat for other sects to fight over. He didn't want to, but still made the decision. A different form of existence was better than being exterminated. 9 dragon sect was just taking on a new form of existence, and the Jade Clear sect had something unique. It was about finding the right way to maintain differentiation. I had been to the Jade Clear sect, so I understand this. Even if we join the Jade Clear sect, we can still influence the secret arts of the Blood Flame Heaven Gate as an example. Without the consent of the Blood Gate, their techniques cannot be cultivated. 2 disciples whispered to each other, "I heard no one has ever learned this technique." Wei Yuan looked at his hands, then at the disciples of 9 dragon sect, and firmly said to everyone, "We'll use the power of others to protect our inheritance. You don't need to worry about the virtue of the Jade Clear sect. Once you become independent and strong, you can leave the Jade Clear sect." An elder disciple looked up at him, eyes wide with suspicion, and asked, "Master, do you mean we aren't going together?" Wei Yuan looked at the heavy mountains in front of him and made his decision. "Yes. This time, I'll go look for a higher mountain." He already had a goal in his mind. Only by focusing on hard cultivation like the elders can we truly follow the path of cultivation. Wei Yuan reminded the disciples, if the Jade Clear sect doesn't take us in, then go to the Elder of Godslaughter and mention the Emperor of Heaven title. The Elder of Godslaughter will understand. After speaking, Wei Yuan disappeared, leaving only a faint trace of his aura and his voice saying, if fate allows, we will meet again. The disciples below continuously raised their hands, pointing to the sky and shouting, Sect Master! Sect Master! Don't go! Everyone was very confused. Who is the Emperor of Heaven? At this moment, in the Jade Clear sect, the sword-slaying demon saint battle, which had been brewing for 8 years, took place. The Jade Clear sect's reputation in the cultivation world was like the noon sun. The Emperor of Great Yen marched forward with a large group of soldiers, eunuchs, and maidens, each holding tributes and treasures. The Emperor of Great Yen came to visit the Jade Clear sect, willing to establish the Jade Clear sect as the state religion, widely revered. The shouts were loud, His Majesty has arrived. The Emperor's solemn footsteps passed through the crowd, and a maid, excited, carried a flower basket, scattering petals as she walked, making the Emperor's arrival appear even more majestic. The Emperor knelt before the cold extreme god statue, with a pig's head and many offerings on the table. Yen Xiang opened his arms and solemnly shouted, Bow! The plaque of the Jade Clear sect had been replaced. The Emperor lowered his head. The Jade Clear sect was officially renamed the Jade Clear Sacred Sect. Hanju and Yen Xiang sat together drinking tea. Hanju spoke about a major discovery, so Great Yen also has an Emperor? Yen Xiang responded helplessly, stop underestimating things, just go out more and you'll understand. Hanju lowered his head. He hadn't expected the Jade Clear sect to become so illustrious. He spoke. I never expected the Jade Clear sect to become the state religion. Yen Xiang smiled, looking ahead. Speaking with admiration for Hanju, after all, you saved the lives of all beings, truly deserving. Yen Xiang continued, even Nine Dragon sect wants to join us. His words made Hanju suddenly turn his head to look at him, and Hanju asked in surprise, Nine Dragon sect? Yen Xiang replied, I heard it was Wei Yuan. Who called them here? Hanju couldn't help but worry, is the old emperor trying to disrupt the situation? Looking at the teapot emitting fragrant steam, Yen Xiang reminded Hanju, by the way, I've already passed the message to the ancestor, asking him to return and take over the sect. The ancestor agreed, and will take over as the sect master in a few years. Hanju's heart filled with doubt, and he asked, Sect master, who is he? Yen Xiang's face became pensive, feeling that his time might be limited. He spoke softly, I feel like I don't have much time left. I plan to focus on cultivation and fight for my fate. Hanju froze, staring wide-eyed at Yen Xiang. Hanju advised, once the sect master's position is handed over, you should go cultivate at the bitter training Immortal Mountain. As for the cave dwelling, you can open it yourself. Yen Xiang's voice echoed. Thank you, Elder Han. Without your arrangements over the years, how could the spiritual energy of the bitter training Immortal Mountain be so abundant? I hope you can go further on the path of cultivation as well. Hanju thought, when the ancestor returns in a few years, I wonder if the master will come with him? Though there have been crises in these years, I have never seen anyone using puppets. Hanju raised his hand to block the moonlight in front of him, and a few rays of light passed through the gaps in his fingers. At that moment, Hanju also raised his hand to block his view. Through his fingers, his eyes revealed a trace of determination. Yue lay on the bed, wearing a sexy spaghetti strap dress that showcased her long and flawless legs. She was a bit anxious, thinking, it's already late. Junior brother, are you okay? Yue's gaze was unfocused, her eyes dazed. She stretched out her arms and lay there, with a sharp knife beside her. Some tiny lights flickered, shining brightly. Hanju's puppet was neatly placed on the bed. Suddenly, it made a sound. He opened his eyes wide and exclaimed, Senior sister? Yue was extremely shocked, realizing that the familiar voice was that of her junior brother. Yue picked up the puppet, holding it high, and froze. So you can talk to me through this puppet? Why didn't you mention this function earlier? Yue's face darkened. A few years ago, I called for you, why didn't you respond? Do you have other lovers and forgot about me, your senior sister? Hearing these accusations, Hanju broke into a cold sweat and hurriedly explained, no, that's not it. Tianji Kue mistakenly thought his spiritual power was limited, and once used, he couldn't protect senior sister anymore, so he had to use it sparingly. Yue was somewhat stunned by his explanation, and the awkwardness on her face was clearly visible. She said, so that's how it is. Junior brother, you're really gentle, you almost made me cry. These years, with the protection of the 9 Cauldrons ancestor, I haven't encountered any life-threatening danger. But she suddenly realized a more serious problem. Yue became anxious. Wait. This puppet can sense me. Ha. Could it be? Hanju froze, her words getting more interesting. Yue screamed, I've been exposed to junior brother every day without knowing it, I just hope he hasn't seen the fat on my body. Then she shouted, this really embarrasses the Jade Clear sect. He hurriedly defended himself, his tone filled with helplessness. Spiritual power isn't used like that, it's only meant to detect whether senior sister is in danger. Yue became more and more flustered. I do these things with junior brother every day, he shouldn't sense them, right? A big question mark appeared in her mind. Hanju was confused and said, huh? She lost control and shouted, I really want to die right now. On the other side, Hanju was sitting and reading a book, with a grass lying beside him, sleeping soundly. His mind was filled with incomprehensible, chaotic thoughts. Hanju's next words made Yue dizzy. Senior sister. A few years later, the ancestor will return to take over as sect master. At that time, you can return with the ancestor. He said to her, the remaining puppet still has 90% of its spiritual power. I'm leaving now. As soon as he finished speaking, Yue rushed to the puppet, crying, no. Junior brother, I was wrong. I won't do these things anymore. She knelt on the bed, pointing at the puppet's head, eagerly asking, Junior brother, you haven't told me about the situation of the Jade Clear sect yet. How is your cultivation going? Answer me quickly. Hanju's puppet opened its eyes wide and stared at her. Yue sat in front of the puppet, crossing her arms, angrily cursing, stinky junior brother, refuses to show concern for me. Then she thought, I guess indifference is fine. Yue thought about Hong Quan and Mo Jui's ragged clothes, begging on the street, constantly crying in misery. Maybe Hong Quan and Mo Jui also often encountered dangerous situations. She flashed a sly smile, raised her hand to cover her mouth. Wait for me to come back, junior brother. Don't even think about escaping from my grasp. A shout interrupted Yue's fantasy, where, junior sister, there's a huge good thing. The light in her eyes flickered, and her excited expression instantly disappeared. Yue put on her outer clothes and walked to the entrance of the cave. Daoist Jiang raised his hand and shouted, Junior sister, are you here? Recently, there's a powerful figure on Red Dragon Immortal Island. I, Daoist Jiang, come with the invitation from the island. Yue walked forward, her beauty like a blooming flower. She lowered her head and looked at him, asking, the Great One is giving a lecture? The speaker looked up, holding a folding fan in his hand, his posture elegant. Seeing her, his eyes lit up, and he replied, that's right. Do you want to go? I can take you. He raised the fan to cover his mouth and smiled brightly. A lecture by the Great One is something you can encounter but can't seek. Maybe there will be a great surprise. Yue looked at him with a cold expression, glancing at him indifferently. She responded coldly, thank you for the offer, but I won't go. I've had some insights in my cultivation lately, and I need to experience them slowly. The speaker still smiled, seemingly unaware of Yue's displeasure. He stretched out his hand and said to her, all right. Then. I'll bother you another time, where? If I find any good treasures on Red Dragon Immortal Island, I'll bring some back for you. Yue's eyes were filled with extreme disgust as she slowly said to him, no need to go through all that trouble. Impatiently, she turned and left, muttering, I just want to focus on cultivation. I don't need any treasures. Seeing Yue walk into the room, he stretched out his hand and called, Where, what did you say? He laughed heartily and bid her farewell, I'm leaving now. Take your time with your cultivation. Inside the room, she couldn't help but feel irritated and angry. Yue cursed the speaker inwardly, he doesn't cultivate every day. But keeps bothering me. It's so annoying. She snorted, by the time you come back, I'll have already gone to find my junior brother. Yue looked at Hanju's puppet and then asked, was it you who said that? She quickly threw her shoes aside and lunged toward the puppet on the bed, her eyes full of affection, shouting, Junior brother. Yue tightly hugged the puppet, rubbing her cheek against its cheek, excitedly saying, Junior brother, come here quickly. She pinched the puppet's cheek, excitedly saying, just thinking that I might see you soon. I wonder if the spiritual energy in your cave has been enough over the years? Yue gently placed her hands on the puppet, closed her eyes, and softly said, when I return, I'll make sure everything is properly arranged. The round moonlight gently fell into the corner, and the entire space was filled with soft light. The clouds and stars shimmered like the Milky Way, spreading out. A meeting was taking place in the room. A person who seemed somewhat imposing broke the silence of the meeting, saying, the great sage of the Blue Wolf is dead. What do you think? The blood demon ancestor transmitted the information he had gathered. I heard he died in a sect called Jade Clear Sect, belonging to the Great Yen. Strictly speaking, Jade Clear Sect is thriving right now. The person opposite fell silent after hearing this, seemingly lost in thought. Sitting beside them, Chuo also joined the conversation. The great sage of the Blue Wolf was my master's pet. Telling him to slaughter the human race of the 10 continents and 9 heavens was part of our plan. This grudge must be avenged. Naturally, he couldn't accept that the human race of the 10 continents and 9 heavens still existed. Even though countless people of the 10 continents and 9 heavens had perished, the human race was not yet fully extinct, and we must find a way to deal with it. However, Luohan disagreed. He voiced his opinion, the great sage of the Blue Wolf was too arrogant. With the treasure of the extinction Taoist, he really thought he was invincible. Good riddance. If we want the human race to be wiped out, the demon race alone can't do it. We must make the human race fight among themselves. He spread his arms wide, boldly saying, I suggest we support internal strife among the human race. Mo Gu also thinks this is a good idea, and there's nothing to oppose, so she spoke up, I have no objections. Mo Gu, with her seductive figure, leaned against the back of the chair, speaking in a tone that was as enticing as ever, this way, the blood flow will double, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Her eyes brightened as she turned to the person next to her, you agree, right? What do you think? Qing Jun coldly said, I have no objections. Also, I've been to the underworld recently. The demoness was surprised by what she said, let me remind you. The demon race is starting to lose patience. Luohan was stunned upon hearing this, and the demon seeker was no exception. Qingjuan's reminder left him speechless. The blood demon ancestor was also put into deep thought by her words. A flash of red light appeared in his eyes, filled with malice and cruelty. Qingjun crossed her legs, revealing a pair of long, fair legs. She slowly spoke, if we fail to complete the mission of reviving the demon race on time, you should all be very clear about the consequences, right? She truly appeared like a master, her aura completely extraordinary. Qingjuan's tone rose, then she made a decision regarding the blood demon ancestor, all right, leave the matter of Yuling sect to me, and the rest to you. The blood demon ancestor sat across from her, seeming somewhat inferior. In her presence, he agreed to the proposal, all right. We've already figured out the situation of the mysterious cultivator from Yuling sect. If he poses a threat to our plan, the demon lord will do everything to eliminate him. Qingxuan's purple eyes sparkled as she prepared for the operation. She replied, I'll set off immediately. 10 years in the mortal realm equals 1 lifetime in the Tao, but cultivation is an endless journey. 5 years passed. In the blink of an eye, and the dazzling light of the 9th layer of the combined body realm enveloped the space. Hanju joyfully shouted, 9th layer of the combined body realm. He looked up at the sky, arms wide open, savoring the results of his hard work after many days of cultivation. Excitedly, he said, the breakthrough is right in front of me, let's keep going. Hanju's eyes shone with determination and resolve as he slowly said, then we must celebrate. Hanju opened the Book of Calamity and saw the names of many senior figures and people he knew. Several names immediately popped into his mind: Vermilion Bird, Mo Yuling, Zhu Yan Daoist. He thought to himself, let's send a greeting first. The heavenly Tao Spirit Stone came into contact with the Book of Calamity, instantly emitting a dazzling golden light. After the great battle that year, Hanju finally decided to merge the heavenly Tao Spirit Stone into the Book of Calamity. At that time, Hanju raised his hand, releasing a powerful aura towards the sky. Attack power 3000. Defense power is still a question mark, no one knows, we only know that it's an unparalleled spiritual treasure, the Book of Calamity. He silently thought, with the heavenly Tao, under this boost, the Book of Calamity should be different from before. The curse reaction speed will be faster than before. A notification appeared, your divine pet, the Chaos Sky Dog, has encountered an attack from the demon race. ID 28211. Your friend Zhu Fan has encountered an attack from a demonic cultivator, ID 3779. Your friend Mo Fu, seeking revenge, has encountered an attack from a demonic cultivator, ID 3644. Your friend Zhu Fan has been severely injured, life in danger. Your enemy Mo Yuling's Tao heart was damaged by your curse, encountering a heart demon. Cultivation greatly decreased. Your disciple Su Qi has encountered an attack from the Demon King, severely injured. Your disciple Su Qi has activated her magical powers, and the Demon King is being hunted by a great cultivator. Your partner Hong Quan has received an opportunity and entered a blessed land cave. Hanju stroked his chin and said smugly, Mo Yuling's cultivation has decreased, that's great. That's great. It's a pity that Zhu Ke and Zhu Yan Daoist haven't had any accidents yet. Seeing the message about Hong Quan, your partner Hong Quan has received an opportunity and entered a blessed land cave, he thought to himself, Hong Quan carries the fate I left within her. Her luck has improved recently, I wonder what treasures she'll bring back next. Hanju couldn't help but imagine Hong Quan excitedly immersed in treasures. He couldn't help but sigh. Forget it. I'm not the kind of person who likes to live off a woman. The ground grass crawled onto his shoulder and happily said in a cute voice, Master. Master, have you finished your seclusion? Hanju glanced at the grass on his shoulder and then asked, has anything happened while I was in seclusion? The ground grass quickly answered, yes. This morning, the sect leader was looking for you. Today is the sect leader's 900th birthday banquet, and they wanted to invite you to give a lecture at the inner sect banquet. The ground grass winked at him, I guess you don't want to go, so I directly refused to help you. Her eyes sparkled with pride, aren't I amazing? Hanju held the ground grass in his palm, smiling as he praised her, amazing. Amazing, I really don't want to go out and show my face. Hanju gazed into the distance, feeling that outright refusal wasn't a good solution. It felt a bit inappropriate. He thought it would be better to send a congratulatory message and then take a few people to the inner sect for a stroll. The ground grass was excited when it heard they were going out to have fun. Thank you, Master, that's great. On a tree branch, there was a message paper with an image of a prison rooster on it. The content was a message from Tiandong to Hanju. Master. There is a grand banquet in the sect recently. Since we saw you're still in seclusion, we didn't wait for you. Tiandong. Hanju read the message and felt a bit displeased. His tone carried both reproach and a hint of childishness. These useless disciples, they secretly went to the banquet. I hope they don't run into that shop. As you expected, Tiandong, Chang'an, and the prison rooster stood in front of a shop, sweating profusely. The sign above read Millennial Old Shop. The street was bustling with people, all hurrying along. Hanju, holding the ground grass, blended into the crowd on the street, his eyes scanning the surroundings. It was truly lively. Hanju thought to himself, I wonder if I'll meet any people with extraordinary talents. The ground grass was excited in his arms. Suddenly, the system alarm went off. System reminder. Hanju's eyes lit up, thinking, just as I mentioned Chow Chow, here he comes. Hanju noticed the content on the screen, which showed, Xianqing Army, 8th layer of the Great Ascension Realm, Demon Army ranking. The ground grass's eyes sparkled with excitement, and she exclaimed, wow, that looks so delicious over there. Master, look, those are super powerful bird people. Not hearing a response from him, she called out again, Master. Master. Hanju was deep in thought and didn't notice her words. His gaze fell on the second floor of the building ahead, where a woman was also looking at him. Xianqing Army coldly held a teacup with graceful movements, staring at him. Hanju couldn't help but show his aging face and look back at her. Seeing his unusual attitude, the ground grass asked, Master, what's wrong? Hanju's eyes grew cautious, sweat dripping down, and he trembled as he replied, the master might be dying soon. Xianqing Army elegantly poured tea into her cup, and Hanju had a thought flash through his mind. Why is she here, and not in her mortal form? Could it be she's here to deal with me and Hongquan? Xianqing Army gently raised her teacup, her eyes filled with intense murderous intent. Hanju felt lost, thinking, I've kept everything secret, I shouldn't have been discovered, right? Hanju quickly walked up to her and raised his voice, Miss Xian, long time no see, facing the Xianqing Army. He seemed happy to see her again, his tone filled with warmth. I came from afar and couldn't welcome you properly, please forgive my rudeness. His eyes sparkled like stars. Although he was speaking with her, Hanju silently thought, her mood doesn't seem very good, this is bad. Xianqing Army looked at him expressionlessly. She lifted her hand to support her chin, staring out of the window, sighing. Outside, the prison rooster was surrounded by a group of chefs due to its fat body. Tiandong didn't stop them but instead waved a flag cheering them on, go. Go. Rongqi stared wide-eyed, silently watching. Only Chang'an anxiously shouted, stop, this is Elder Tianshan's pet. The kettle was on the stove, steam rising and filling the air. There were also tea tongs on the table. Xianqing Army really knew her tea. Hanju, and she looked out at the scenery. The ground grass, abandoned in a corner, cried miserably, screaming inside, pretending to be a green tree outside the door. Hanju didn't dare to face her, thinking, it's been so long. She hasn't said a word. He felt like fire. Ants were crawling in his mind, is she waiting for me to confess? She had been observing him all along. Xianqing Army quietly stared at Hanju, her fingers gently pinching the teacup, supporting her chin as she thought, his hair looks oily, he probably didn't wash it during his seclusion. Has it ended? Did he not clean up his aura? No, Hongquan likes cleanliness. After sitting for a long while, Xianqing Army finally spoke, was it you, recently? Hanju didn't let her continue, suddenly slamming the table, Miss Xian, listen to my defense. No. Let me explain. He shouted in panic, it's not what you think. Xianqing Army's eyes brightened, and she revealed a strange smile, no need to explain, what's done is done. Tin Quan's eyes sparkled as she spoke, as expected, you're the man I chose, brave enough to take responsibility. Hanju was speaking, but his tone sounded like he was about to cry, I was wrong. I was wrong. Do what you want, kill me if you wish, I'm with. Tin Quan picked up her teacup, smiling, don't worry. That Qing Tang, if you killed him, then just let it be. I'm here, and no one can touch you. Hanju's mouth dropped open in surprise, huh? What is Qing Tang? So that's what happened. He cursed himself in his mind, damn it. Almost exposed myself. She took a sip of tea, glancing at him with some confusion. Tin Quan then asked, "What's wrong? Is there something else?" Hanju scratched his head, pretending nothing was wrong. No, no. Miss Tin Quan, is there something you need to discuss with me this time? Hearing this, Tin Quan stood up, leaned closer to him, and said seriously, "You're here to avenge Qing Tang, the great sage, but if it was you who killed him, then it's fine. If others ask, you mustn't admit it." Tin Quan looked down at Hanju, her words growing more severe. "As for the real killer, let's just say it was me. Do you understand?" Tin Quan cupped his face in her hands, and Hanju stared at her, asking, "Does Qing Tang the great sage have accomplices behind him?" She sat on his lap, her hands holding Hanju's face, and then answered his question. "This monster has a really big background, but you don't need to worry. I'll stop that person, just focus on your cultivation." Hanju's heart skipped a beat. Oh my god. Taiji Dao Rin still has such deep connections in the mortal realm. Something big is going on. Tin Quan waved her hand, and the table was covered with bottles of medicine. Hanju was greatly surprised. She said, "If you've killed Qing Tang the great sage, you must have reached the tribulation stage. These are all for the tribulation stage, take them and use them." Hanju looked at the medicine on the table, trembling as he said that. She noticed something was off and asked, "Isn't it enough?" Hanju lowered his head, pointing to the floor, and whispered, "Actually, I just reached the 9th layer of the merging stage." Tin Quan's eyes widened in shock, as if she couldn't believe what she had just heard. On the other side, the old millennial shop collapsed due to its weight. Ngukke was confused, and the trio Deng Hui, Truongen, and Thien Ing were helpless in the face of Ngukke's destruction. Thien Dong sighed and said helplessly, "This project is really a shoddy job." Tin Quan still sat in Hanju's arms. Seeing her attitude, he felt awkward and spoke with a trembling tone, "Really, I just reached the 9th layer of the merging stage." Tin Quan lowered her head and said, "With just the 8th layer of the merging stage, you could kill Qing Tang at the tribulation stage." Hanju, in a panic, tried to explain, I know this is hard to believe, but it really happened like that." Suddenly, the system's warning sound rang, and the system notification appeared. Hanju's eyes widened in surprise. The message displayed, "Your Dao partner Tin Quan's favorability toward you has increased, current favorability is 5 stars. Tin Quan cupped her face, eyes filled with affection, and her mood softened. Her voice was gentle, "I didn't expect you to be such a rare talent." Tin Quan patted his shoulder, her words filled with pride, "Not bad. You're more suited to be my Dao partner." Tin Quan leaned in close, and before Hanju could react, he stared at her with wide eyes. They were face to face, the light from the window casting an even more ambiguous atmosphere. Tin Quan gently licked the corner of her lips, her movements becoming more alluring. Hanju broke into a cold sweat, his expression a mix of fear. A thought flashed through his mind, "I've escaped one disaster, but it seems I haven't completely escaped." She straightened her posture, covered her mouth with her hand, and said something that threw Hanju into a panic, "It seems it's still early, I might ruin you." Tin Quan threw him a flirtatious glance, her eyes sparkling as she spoke in an alluring voice, "You must work hard on your cultivation, I'll wait for you to mature." Hanju widened his eyes and thought, "Mature, what is this? Does she think I'm like a little apple in a fruit garden?" Tin Quan saw his silly expression, stood up, and walked away, waving her hand, "It's boring just to look without eating. I'll go first." He suddenly remembered something, right? Hanju reached for a treasured item he carried with him and said to her, "This is the magic treasure left by Qing Meng the Immortal. I think it's not simple, you can take a look." He handed over a small bone segment to Tin Quan. This bone segment is the Ju Yen golden staff. She took the Ju Yen golden staff and said, "This treasure is really not simple. I can take it back and let those people believe the real killer is already dead." Hearing this, Hanju scratched his head awkwardly. Tin Quan continued, "No matter how the world changes, you just focus on cultivating." He didn't understand the deeper meaning of this sentence. Hanju curiously asked, "What?" Tin Quan, holding the Ju Yen golden staff, walked toward the window. She looked outside and said, "This is my Tao partner. No matter if the heavens collapse or the earth shatters, I can protect you with all my strength." Seeing Tin Quan about to leave, Hanju called out to her, "Miss Xian." He was puzzled about what she meant by the heavens and earth turning upside down. Can you tell me what this heavens and earth turning upside down refers to? Also, who is seeking revenge?